I think that Kendrick has like the utmost potential, man. Like, you know, I see Kendrick tomorrow, I'm a dap him.
I've always been a fan of his music. Shout out to Drake.
From respecting each other as rappers, but also as people.
Drake's a real good dude, first and foremost. Know he heard my music, reached out and just gave me respect on it.
And Drake even calling Kendrick Lamar a real friend.
This is like actually one of my real friends. You meet a lot of people in the business. This is one of my real friends.
To now trying to destroy each other's careers with the whole world watching.
Say Drake, I hear you like I'm young.
So you need facts to take me out. Fairy tales won't do it. Cheers to everybody.
Drake and Kendrick Lamar's beef has reached the point of no return.
It's time for beef. It's time for war.
I don't want anybody to get hurt.
And for over a decade, this feud has been building.
Nobody yelled out Kendrick. You just heard that in your head.
Pin a tail on a donkey, boy, you been a big.
Although even after all this time, there was hatred between these two we couldn't always see. Hatred that led to this beef changing not only hip-hop, but their entire lives forever. The story begins in the year 2011 in Toronto, Ontario, where Drake and Kendrick Lamar first met. Drake was a bigger artist than Kendrick at the time, but don't get it twisted. Kendrick had a buzz of his own and was the chosen one to lead the West Coast. And after their first time meeting, Kendrick had nothing but good things to say about Drake.
Drake's a real good dude, first and foremost. Know he heard my music probably a year back, reached out and just gave me respect on it.
And say what you want about Drake, he does a lot for new artists, even if it helps him too. But since he was such a fan of Kendrick Lamar, and the two had become such good friends in his eyes, he asked him to feature on his upcoming album, Take Care.
Hit me on the cellular, thought he was gonna sell me a false word like the rappers I know.
And on Kendrick's feature of this song, he talks about Drake being a down-to-earth guy, as well as him dealing with becoming famous and how the lifestyle might change him for the worse.
So dig a shovel full of money, full of power, full of fame, and bury yourself alive. Then I died.
Like, damn, this next level that I'm going to, will I get caught up in the lifestyle and would that make me or break me?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that was what the whole record was about when I did the interlude.
But their friendship didn't end there. Drake also took Kendrick Lamar and A$AP Rocky on his Club Paradise tour in 2012, which he apparently fought to do so, as his label wanted him to take other people.
You know, it's people I can put on here that the label wants me to put on here, but I fight for this one reason, man. Like, I fight to promote what I love. You know what I'm saying? I fight to promote the music that I truly love, so.
And this opportunity was something Kendrick Lamar was extremely grateful for.
You know, hit me up one day and say, you know what? Handpicked, man, I want you to be on this tour. And you know, it's a lot of artists out there, man, it's, you know, that could have been on that tour with dude.
That tour was a great advantage, and I shout out Drake every time for letting me see that.
So at this point, Drake and Kendrick had a great relationship. They were both fans of each other's music, but more importantly, they were fans of each other as people.
This is like actually one of my real friends. You meet a lot of people in the business. This is one of my real friends.
But things were about to change, and not for the better.
Dre said the new king of the West Coast, fam.
A hip-hop savior, it seems like.
Kendrick Lamar went on to release his highly anticipated album, Good Kid, Mad City, on October 22nd, 2012, selling 242,000 copies in its first week. A pretty big accomplishment for the young artist. But that's not all. He actually got some help from his friend Drake, who featured on the album.
He's got an incredible album coming out, and we got a joint on there that's so hard, I swear.
That sound like poetic justice. Poetic justice.
But what nobody saw between these two friends was the competition slowly building behind the scenes. A competition stemming from Kendrick Lamar becoming a bigger rapper in the game, closing his gap on Drake in the rankings, as Good Kid, Mad City was a huge success, taking Kendrick to the top of the game. A big change up from him being Drake's concert opener just months before.
The transition of me doing 2,000 venues I've been doing back then is a little sketchy for me doing this 10,000. I gotta really work some off magic.
But why would Kendrick becoming a bigger artist matter? You'd think Drake would be happy to see his friend reach new heights in the game, which he was, saying he was honored to be part of this project. And you'd also have to think Kendrick would have been grateful for Drake believing in him. So in a perfect world, these two would go on to make more music together, which they technically did. They both featured on A$AP Rocky's song Effin' Problems in November of 2012, which which was a big hit and personally one of my favorite songs. Although, that perfect world of Drake and Kendrick continuing to be friends would never end up happening, as this would be the last time they ever worked together. But why? The first possible sign we can see anything negative going on is when Kendrick gave his reaction to DMX saying he wants to beat Drake up.
I don't like anything about Drake. Mom, I don't like his voice. I don't like what he talks about. I don't. See, I be trying to tell his face. I don't like the way he walks. Like nothing. I don't like his haircut.
I'm wondering why these niggas in the front of the bus just cracking up, like hitting walls, and just crying. I'm like, they mute. They stop laughing, right? I just hear X going off on a laptop. I'm like, what the going on? And he's like, yeah, he's going in right now.
And if we're being honest, there's a chance Drake saw this and took it the wrong way, because he can be pretty sensitive. But this doesn't seem to be the case, as this reaction came out before Good Kid, Mad City, which as we know, Drake featured on and publicly promoted. So he either didn't see it or took it in good fun. But that good fun between these two, it was starting to run out. As the year flipped to 2013, Kendrick had continued to close the gap on Drake in the rap rankings, receiving a lot of attention from the mainstream.
We were in the studio with this dude, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy seeing the progression and the growth, man. Congrats on everything,
Appreciate
bro.
it, man. Appreciate it. It just escalated bigger and better now, you know?
And just like Drake did to his OG Kanye West, Kendrick was definitely making Drake take notice of all the momentum he had. Kendrick won the 2013 MTV Hottest MC Award.
And you, Kendrick Lamar, are the hottest MC in the game, according to the MTV Brain Trust.
And he won the BET Best Male Hip Hop Artist Award over Drake.
You looking at me on TV right now, this is living proof that you could do anything you put your mind to, you feel me?
Drake was still willing to be a good sport and congratulated Kendrick Lamar on his win over him and his success. But this would be the final time we saw friendly competition, as their friendship was about to change forever. On August 14th, 2013, the first real turning point in Drake and Kendrick Lamar's friendship took place. Big Sean's song Control came out, and well, Kendrick made it loud and clear what his intentions were.
Usually homeboys with the same I'm rhyming with, but this is hip hop and them should know what time it is. And that goes for Jamaica, Big Crit Wale, Pusha T, Meek Mills, A$AP Rocky, Drake, Big Sean, J Electron, Tyler McMillan. I got love for you all, but I'm trying to murder you.
He let every rapper in the game know he meant business and was coming for rap royalty in that #1 spot. And funny enough, nobody had a problem with Kendrick calling them out by name in his lyrics because they knew it was for the sport of hip hop.
I don't think I ever talked to you after post Kendrick shouted you out on Control. I don't think we ever talked about that. Yo, bro, that was a very limited list that you got that shout out on.
Yeah, man, I'm nice.
Facts.
K-Dot and them, that's fam, yo. I think hip hop need this, man. You know, he ain't want problem. He said, "These is my and I'm letting y'all know it's competition."
Correct.
What's the problem?
Yeah, but he wasn't coming at him in a disrespectful way. He's coming at him in a competitive way.
I knew what it was for hip hop culture. I knew how important it was.
But there was one person Kendrick called out who didn't feel the same way.
So I just I don't know, it just wasn't real to me. It's like, I saw him after that and it was just like love. So it's like, was that real or was that just like for the people? You know what I mean?
I think it's a sparring kind of sport.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, you know, then let it be real then, you know, I mean, because those were harsh words, right? So it's like, you can't just say that and then see me and be like, yeah, man, what's up? Pretending like nothing ever happened. Like, that's not real.
And this response wasn't the greatest look for Drake in my opinion. It's clear Kendrick wanted the #1 spot in the game, and he was doing what an MC does to earn that spot, which as we saw, everyone else agreed with except for Drake. Although, Drake wasn't just going to keep talking about Kendrick in the media. All of this chatting was going to lead to one thing: music.
Hey, it's your boy DJ Academics, and I'm here to drop my top 5 records on Drake Nothing Was the Same album.
In September of 2013, Drake released his album Nothing Was the Same, an album many look back on positively. But this album was more than just good hip hop music. It's the first time we see Drake address Kendrick in his lyrics.
I'm tired of hearing about who you checking for now. Just give it time, we'll see you still around a decade from now.
In this line, Drake was referencing rappers who were hot at the time, but were just that, hot at the time, and might not be around 10 years later. To some of you, you might be saying, well, this is a general diss. Let me tell you why this is for Kendrick. During his promo run for the album Nothing Was the Same, Drake did an interview with the legendary Elliott Wilson, where he had a lot to say, and some quotes perfectly align with these lyrics towards Kendrick.
When it comes to competition, I'm more worried about consistency. I'm more worried about bodies of work. I'm talking about hit records. I'm talking, and as far as Kendrick goes, like I can't wait to see what he does, because now it's time to show and prove. And consistency it's been one album. Consistency is like you need more than one album. You know what I'm saying? So it's like.
Not to mention, he also talks about how he wanted to make the introduction on this album an aggressive one.
This album, I set out to have like the most aggressive intro to date.
As well as the fact he doesn't like going to radio stations because they expect him to give them a quote. So he saves all his feelings and emotions for the music.
All the questions that I don't normally answer because I don't like to go up, to these radio stations. And if I don't do some wild shit, then they get no ratings. So I'd rather just talk about my life on the song. So that was really what that intro was about, And
at the time, Kendrick was the hottest rapper with his album Good Kid, Mad City, the Control verse calling out every rapper in the game, and multiple award wins. So to me, considering all these factors in the timing, I think Drake was definitely dissing Kendrick on this line and questioning his longevity in the game. But that's not all Drake had for Kendrick.
I don't know why they've been lying, but your shit is not that inspiring.
In this line from the song The Language, Drake is sending shots at Kendrick, letting him know that you might have everyone thinking you're something special, but to me, you're not all that. During the same interview with Elliott Wilson, Drake addressed the Control verse once again, and his answer, well, it speaks for itself.
He's giving people like moments, like that verse was a moment to talk about. Are you listening to it now at this point in time? Okay. And then, but it was real cool for like, a couple weeks. But like, if I asked you, for example, like, how does that verse start?
And during the same promo run, Drake went on to tell Angie Martinez this.
It's like now this, like everyone's gonna forget about. I mean, people don't even care about it anymore.
So true.
But now, especially this week, it's like, yeah, okay, moving on. Like
Drake couldn't have made it any more clear that he wasn't inspired by Kendrick's lyrics, because although he said he created a moment, he also said that Control was forgetful, essentially giving Kendrick Lamar backhanded compliments.
That's talking just to get a reaction.
Here Drake is saying Kendrick did the Control verse just to get a reaction, as he did a long list of rappers, knowing there would be responses from them in the media.
I wouldn't expect you to like throw all the relationships out the door for the sake of, like I said, being like the talk of the internet for 10 days and then,
But Drake still wasn't done dissing Kendrick.
I am the kid with the motor mouth. I am the one you should worry about.
He then went on to call Kendrick a motormouth, someone who can speak fast and continuously. Drake is saying that you think you can rap and diss, but I'm the one who's better and you should be afraid of. But funny enough, Drake was actually directly asked if he was dissing Kendrick Lamar on this song right after it came out. I don't ever want to get into responses, Drake said when asked if Nothing Was the Same as The Language is a Kendrick Lamar diss. It's a commitment to go there. The language is just energy. What it was inspired by, I'm sure that and other things. It's just me talking my shit. I never once felt the need to respond to that record. So I guess we misinterpreted all that, and Drake wasn't dissing him.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, when I'm playing shortstop for the Mets.
But Kendrick, he wasn't very intimidated by these bars and continued to do his thing. He kept his foot on the gas in 2013 with more award wins. He won the BET MVP of the Year, Lyricist of the Year, Album of the Year, and Feature of the Year. But there was something else he did at this award show that had everyone talking instead.
Kendrick Lamar was in control at the BET Hip Hop Awards.
I hate y'all. I do anything to replace y'all.
Kendrick had a freestyle at the BET Awards, and well, to get to the point, he had lyrics letting Drake know how he felt about him.
Yeah, and nothing been the same since they dropped Control and tucked the sense of the rapper back in his pajama clothes. Ha ha, joke's on you, high five. I'm bulletproof, your shots will never penetrate. Pin a tail on a donkey, boy, you been a fake.
To start, Kendrick uses a play on words to reference Drake's album Nothing Was the Same, and he related it back to the Control verse, because as we know, Drake didn't like it very much.
I don't know, it just wasn't real to me. It's like...
Kendrick then proceeded to say, haha, joke's on you, I'm bulletproof, your shots will never penetrate, to essentially let Drake know nothing he says will get to him emotionally, and Drake talking about him will only backfire on him, as it helps Kendrick get more popular. He then ends it on the line saying Drake is a fake, most likely in regards to where they come from, as in Kendrick from Compton, California.
And this was the time that the gang rivals was heavy between, my neighborhood and the neighborhood a few blocks down.
And Drake growing up with better opportunities as a childhood actor in Toronto.
What's up, everybody? You're chilling with me, Aubrey Graham. You guys want to go for a ride? We can go for a ride.
And looking back at this 2013 BET Award show, Drake did win a couple of awards himself, but at this point, it didn't matter. All that mattered was the competition dissing him. So the question is, what was Drake gonna do about it? In December of 2013, just 2 months after Kendrick's cypher, Drake responded to Kendrick Lamar on the remix of Future's song called Shit. And what Drake is saying in these lines is that he brought Kendrick on tour with him when they first started out.
Like I said, this is my brother Kendrick Lamar.
And a young Kendrick Lamar wasn't used to the fancy lifestyle or the big crowds.
When you get to that level, some might not know how to control the audience, and that's a tough job to do, to have an arena full of people, in tune with every song, every movement.
That tour also included a few shows in Kendrick's home state of California. So Drake is saying Kendrick is his son because he was the one who put him on and was the first one to introduce him to the high-end rapper lifestyle. But Drake had a lot to get off his chest, so he wasn't done talking to Kendrick.
And if a nigga say my name, he the hot shit. But if I say that nigga name, he still the hot shit.
And what Drake is saying is that the situation with Kendrick is a lose-lose for him. If Kendrick disses him, Kendrick will get the attention from it, as Drake is alluding to him being a way bigger artist. And if he responds to Kendrick by name, he's giving Kendrick more attention and publicity, because everyone will just say, hey, look what Drake said about Kendrick. And this is similar to why 50 Cent was so happy Jay-Z dissed him many years ago.
Go against Jigga, your ass is dense. I'm about $1. What the f is 50 cents?
When Jay-Z dissed him, I'm about $1. What the f? Woo, yeah. So I'm like, why is he happy? You got the best dissing you. But then I'm like, damn, that shit was kind of ill marketing. It elevates you.
Although, Kendrick was a lot more known at the time than when Jay-Z dropped 50's name. But to Drake, he still saw it as doing Kendrick a favor. He continued to prove this point by saying he wasn't too happy with the Kendrick Lamar Control verse because it messed with the rollout of his album Nothing Was the Same. Where it became an issue is that I was rolling out an album while that verse was still bubbling. So my rollout became about this thing. What am I supposed to say? Nah, we'll be buddy-buddy? Which is Drake proving his line. If a person says my name, he's the hot shit. But if I say the person's name, he's still the hot shit. Because Kendrick said his name and it brought a lot of press. And then when Drake dropped his album, he was asked about it and forced to answer, giving Kendrick more press yet again, and proving a true lose-lose situation for Drake. Although, Drake actually admitted this is smart on Kendrick's part, calling him a genius. But in saying that, Drake knew he had to slow down the competition's momentum. That's why he followed up those two lines by saying he doesn't feel the need to gossip. And what he means by that are the same things he told Vibe magazine when they asked him if he was dissing Kendrick Lamar on his last album or this direct song. Jordan doesn't have to play pickup to prove that he can play ball. No offense. It's tough because they want to see us tear each other down. I have no ill feelings towards that guy. It's just like, it's there for me if I want to fall for it. I'm just too smart for that. Hopefully it's the last time I gotta talk about this. And it's pretty obvious Drake felt like he was leagues above Kendrick at the time, hence he's trying to downplay the beef and stun Kendrick. Because if he spoke on him any different, it would make Kendrick appear as a bigger artist. But to me, yeah, Drake may have still been the big artist in 2013, but it shows Kendrick was hungry, and Drake really noticed his former concert opener on his tail.
Yeah, I just think it's funny how they dangling the baby, I'm the one that's killing on the hooks though.
Now these two lines could actually be a reply to Pusha T's song, King Push, where he seemingly dissed Drake 2 months earlier.
I rap, trap niggas on sing hooks.
But to me, I still think they're for Kendrick, as these lines come directly after the ones we just covered, and he also used the exact same wording in the Vibe magazine interview when he said, I'm being baited and I'm not gonna fall, when asked if he was responding to Kendrick Lamar. But Drake also used a very intelligent play on words with his usage of dangling the bait and hooks. When people go fishing, they put bait on their line in hopes a fish will bite. A fish would obviously rather bite a worm than just a plain old hook. A hook in music is known as the catchy part of a song.
It may not mean nothing to y'all.
In this case, Drake is making fun of Kendrick for needing to use bait to get his attention. For example, Kendrick saying his name on Control and on the BET Cypher where he dissed Drake subliminally. Meanwhile, Drake's hooks, as in musically, are so strong, he doesn't need any bait to get Kendrick's attention. He already has it. So in conclusion, Drake is saying his hooks in his music are so good and popular, he doesn't need to bait people to say his name. They already do it on their own. Therefore, he doesn't mention anyone by name in his lyrics because it would help them get more popular, which he thinks Kendrick is trying to get him to do. But to end Drake's feature on this song, he talks about people switching up on him.
Gonna be that's why we never gave a when a switched up.
And to me, it's pretty evident this is about Kendrick. In Drake's point of view, he did a lot for Kendrick Lamar. He put Kendrick on his double platinum selling album, Take Care. He allowed him to open up for him on the Club Paradise tour. Drake's OVO producer T- produced the hit record Swimming Pools. Drake contributed a verse to his single Poetic Justice. As well, he did show Kendrick a lot of love. So when Kendrick went on to diss Drake in the Control verse, and then again in the Cypher, Drake took it as Kendrick betraying him, even after all he had done for him. Now people will say Drake is being sensitive for this, that the Control verse was just part of the sport of hip hop. But Drake has proven to us, he didn't see it like that. But after this, the next time we would get any news from these two would be all the way into August of 2014. And what happened next is pretty shocking. Since 2010, Drake has had an event called OVO Fest in Toronto every single summer. Drake, as well as the other special guests, perform, and overall, it really is a great show. But something happened at Drake's 2014 OVO Fest, and that something was Drake having good things to say about Kendrick Lamar.
I want to shout out my nigga Kendrick Lamar. Shout out to Kendrick, man. Listen, I'm gonna tell you something, man. Kendrick was on my album. We went on tour together. That's one of the hardest niggas alive right there. He's legendary, so shout out to him. He should be standing right there.
It seems like Drake really had love for Kendrick and was possibly extending a peace offering in their behind-the-scenes feud. Some will say Drake was playing mind games, and it could have been, but he was showing a lot of genuine love on that stage. Although in the end, it doesn't matter what we think it was, it only matters what Kendrick thinks. A month later in September of 2014, the legendary media personality Big Boy in the Neighborhood asked Kendrick specifically how he felt about Drake.
Where are you at with a lot of the cats now, like the J. Cole's of the world or Drakes of the world? Where are you guys at now?
Same place. It's all love. Personally, I respect these dudes as, you know, as people. You know?
Specifically, where are you at, like, with the J. Cole? Specifically, where are you at with a Drake or so on and so forth?
I respect their music.
Like that.
I think what the media tried to do is insane because they take these black, you know, young brothers and really try to clash it and make bump heads, and that's not right.
So wow, it looks like Kendrick Lamar took Drake's peace offering and the two were gonna go back to being friends. But there was one problem. That's not what happened.
I tell them all the hell, King Kendrick, resurrecting my vengeance, been dissecting your motor mouth till I break down the engine.
Kendrick once again says one thing to the camera, but another to the mic. As in this line on the song Pay For It with J-Rock, he is responding to Drake's diss from the song The Language, where he said that Kendrick should be afraid of him. By the way, this was another diss Drake denied was for Kendrick. They were trying to be more secretive about this beef than the Mafia. But Kendrick is letting Drake know on this line, he's been watching him, and he wants to take that top spot in the game, aka break down his engine. Although somehow once again just weeks later, Kendrick was flat out asked if these lines from Pay For It were directed at Drake.
Did you really bring the Drake thing back with the J-Rock single, or what's that about?
What? I ain't hear about
the Drake feud. Or
Look at him going. Look at damn, man.
No.
You're disgusting.
I think that's people digging in. That's people digging in way too far. That's long.
Now, people think your verse on J-Rock's Pay For It is that you're throwing more shots at Drake. Any truth to that?
Yeah, I think that's crazy.
People need to leave that, let that go, man.
But y'all spoke, y'all squashed it, everything good?
Yeah, it wasn't no issue from the jump, you know.
Of course, Kendrick denied these claims and actually said him and Drake talked and are cool again. But at the same time, there was something else at play. Kendrick is now starting to do what Drake did to him earlier in his career and is trying to ego him. When Drake was talking to Vibe magazine a year prior, he said that Jordan doesn't have to play pickup to prove that he can play ball, essentially dunking on Kendrick for being a smaller artist than him. Not to mention, he also said that there's no beef between the two of them. Fast forward a year later, and Kendrick is now doing the exact same thing right back to Drake.
I think people talk about beef. It's just a whole nother dynamic. I can't see myself going bar for bar with Drake. You know, we're two different type of artists. You dig what I'm saying?
You eat Drake. I've argued that in many a circle. Okay?
Essentially what Kendrick is saying is Drake isn't on his level rap-wise, as in lyrically, he can't keep up with him. It's also a jab at Drake having a pop side to his music, which Kendrick is now highlighting to make him look like the real traditional rapper between the two of them. So to summarize, he is pretty much laughing at the idea of the pop rapper Drake trying to compete with him. And in the world of hip-hop, especially in 2014, the rapper who was also a pop singer wasn't looked at as a feared MC. But there's one more important thing Kendrick said that we have to take note of.
Would Drake be somebody you would like to have some fun with?
Nah, I couldn't. We come from two different worlds, two different backgrounds. I really don't see that playing out, you know, as entertaining. Maybe to, you know, the people listening, you know, but not for myself.
When Kendrick says him and Drake come from two different worlds and two different backgrounds, he is referencing where and how they grew up. Although Drake did struggle growing up with a single mother and he lived near Weston Road in Toronto for a certain time of his life, which isn't a very nice area, he is widely considered to have grown up different than most rappers, as he was able to become a childhood actor. Compare that to Kendrick Lamar, who grew up in a dangerous environment like Compton, California, and struggled financially. So when we look at it, he's pretty much saying Drake is nothing like him rap-wise or culturally, so battling him would be a complete waste of time. Essentially letting Drake know, you aren't on my level in multiple ways. But while both of these artists have now denied any beef between them and said that they would never battle each other, the reality of the situation was, they could lie to us, but they couldn't keep lying to themselves.
It's your boy DJ Academics, and now if you're just listening to this, you're already probably too late.
On February 15th, 2015, Drake released a surprising album called If You're Reading This, It's Too Late. And this album was positively received by many in hip-hop. And I actually personally remember when it dropped, because there was so much buzz from the song Six God getting leaked early, it had the internet going crazy. But although If You're Reading This, It's Too Late had some great music, that's not why we're talking about it. Drake had bars for his enemy Kendrick Lamar on the song Used To, and he definitely made it known that the peace offering was off the table for the time being.
They gon' say your name on them airwaves. They gon' hit you up right after like it's only rap.
Drake referenced his 2013 interview with Elliott Wilson, where he said he saw Kendrick days after the Control verse, and his demeanor, well, it was quite friendly.
I know that verse had no malice behind it because I saw him 5 days later at the VMAs and it was all love. So it's like...
And to me, Kendrick was probably friendly because the Control verse wasn't meant as a diss for Drake or that he hated him. It was meant for friendly competition, just like how everyone else took it. But the fact of the matter is, whether you think Drake is sensitive for it or not, he didn't take it like that, and the two have been at war with each other ever since. But after this most recent diss from Drake, the only question left to ask was, when, not if, will Kendrick respond?
Big boy in the morning, Dr. Dre is up in here, man. Kendrick Lamar, hell of a run. You know what I'm saying? And it looked like the dude is just about to start running again. We see the Pimp a Butterfly.
Man, isn't that album incredible?
Yeah, man.
He put together an amazing album, man.
You know what it is?
And technically, that answer came just a month later, as on March 15th, 2015, Kendrick also dropped a surprise album called To Pimp a Butterfly, which gained Kendrick a lot of respect from hip-hop. Although at the time, there wasn't any disses towards Drake that we could see, but that doesn't mean Drake didn't see any. As a couple months later in June of 2015, Drake got disrespectful with Kendrick on the song 100 with The Game. But Drake doing this wasn't just another regular response, it was a chess move in his eyes. Featuring a legendary Compton rapper, yeah, in 2015, people looked at The Game a lot more legendary than they do now, while also filming the music video in Compton, where as we know, Kendrick is from.
I would have all of your fans if I didn't go poppin', I stayed on some conscious.
The verse appears to be a response regarding the praise Kendrick got for To Pimp a Butterfly, as the album wasn't just your ordinary run-of-the-mill hip-hop beats and lyrics. Kendrick was focusing on other things like politics and what's going on in African American culture. But Drake, he wanted Kendrick to know that if he felt like it, he could make an album just as great, but he's sticking to what he's doing. Although to finish it off, Drake also claimed Kendrick's music gets no play in the club, and when it does, the reaction is lackluster.
I'm in the club every time that they play the competition. If they even play the competition, then I seen the response they get.
Drake really was feeling himself on this track, and with everything involved with the game, the music video being Compton, I bet he felt like not only he was beating Kendrick in their beef, but he was beating everyone. But just as Drake probably felt like he was on top of the world, that same world probably felt like it had turned upside down. On July 21st of 2015, at exactly 11:46 Eastern Time, Meek Mill exposed Drake for using ghostwriters.
Late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, Meek Mill got on Twitter. He accused Drake of using a ghostwriter.
And as we all know in hip-hop, and especially 2015, not writing your own lyrics was a big deal. And to back up Meek's claims, some reference tracks were actually leaked.
Now, we did hear a reference track for Rico. We heard it for Used To. We also heard it for 10 Bands. However, and by the way, they're all online at this point. By the way, OVO, they're trying to get them down. That's the reason I probably won't link to it, okay?
But how does this relate to Kendrick Lamar? Well, do you remember that album To Pimp a Butterfly? Well, on the song King Kunta off that album, it appears Kendrick Lamar knew what Drake was doing long before it was exposed.
But a rapper with a ghostwriter, what the f happened? I swore I wouldn't tell, but most of y'all sharing bars like.
So when this song first came out, nobody knew who Kendrick was referring to, except Drake himself. And that honestly is some 48 Laws of Power type thinking from Kendrick, because in hindsight, holding in that secret worked out for him. And well, for Meek Mill, the guy who exposed the secret, not so much, as Drake ended up becoming the decisive winner in their beef.
Donkey of the Day for Friday, July 31st goes to Meek Mill.
But best believe while Drake was racking up the wins versus Meek Mill, Kendrick Lamar hadn't forgot about their ongoing feud, nor did he forget Drake's disrespectful move by dissing him on the song 100, all while doing it on a legendary Compton rapper's song and recording the music video in the same place. So to counter this, Kendrick did what in my opinion was the best move he could make, and he hopped on the biggest Compton Legends album, Dr. Dre's album Compton.
But still I got enemies giving me energy, I don't wanna fight now. Subliminal sending me all of this hate, I thought I was holding the mic down.
And in these lines, Kendrick is directly talking about Drake's song, Energy, where he says this.
I got enemies, got a lot of enemies, got a lot of people trying to drain me of my energy.
He also jokes at all the subliminal disses Drake keeps sending him. So to me, after reading all these lines, it's pretty clear Kendrick was ready for war with Drake. So ready that he still wasn't done dissing him on Dr. Dre's album. To start his feature on the song, Kendrick says people know he started from the bottom, as in humble beginnings. But to me, I think this is also a shot at Drake's popular song, Started from the Bottom. And Kendrick is taking a shot at Drake by comparing what his beginnings were like growing up in Compton as a kid versus how Drake grew up in Toronto. But this is only the pregame to what was to come, because Kendrick, he wasn't done. In the first line, Kendrick says they're liable to bury him. They nominate 6 to carry him. And the focal point of this line is the number 6. As some of you probably know, the number 6 has been related to Drake for some time now. Drake refers to his home city of Toronto as the 6, and the Toronto area codes are 416 and 647. But although this could be one meaning, there's another one that could go with it. Kendrick is talking about burying in this line, and they nominated 6 to carry him. And that 6 could be in reference to the usual 6 pallbearers that carry a casket at a funeral. To me, I think Kendrick is essentially saying he's going to bury Drake, and the meaning behind it is the fact they're both at the top of the food chain, fighting it out.
They bury him to death, but he no vegetarian. The beef is on his breath, inheriting the drama better than a great white. This is life in my aquarium.
Kendrick then goes on to compare himself to a great white shark, and that he runs the aquarium, aka the whole rap scene. So he's essentially telling Drake that he isn't on his level rap-wise, and well, Kendrick is just flat out saying he's the biggest in rap. But as things continue to bubble behind the scenes, as the year 2015 came to an end, an unexpected person emerged as a character in this story. In January of 2016, President Barack Obama was directly asked on who he thought would win in a rap battle.
If Drake and Kendrick Lamar got in a rap battle, who do you think would win?
Got to go with Kendrick. I'm just saying. I think Drake is an outstanding entertainer, but Kendrick, his lyrics, his last album was outstanding.
Excellent. All right.
Best album I think last year.
And to nobody's surprise, Drake didn't waste much time and ended up responding to Barack Obama not even a month later, as he dropped the single Summer 16.
Tell Obama that my verses are just like the whips at the end, they bulletproof.
But what Barack Obama didn't realize is that this question was a lot more real than hypothetical, as the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef was about to get a lot more crazy. On February 15th, 2016, the 58th annual Grammy Awards took place, and as you can imagine, it was a star-studded affair. But more importantly, the two characters in our story, both in attendance, looking to take home some hardware. Drake had a phenomenal year, being nominated for Best Rap Album, Best Rap Performance, Best Rap Song, Best Collaboration, and Best Rap Performance. A lot of really great nominations, and although he didn't end up winning the Grammy Award for any of them, it's a great list nonetheless. But for Drake, I don't know if he saw it that way, especially because it was his arch rival Kendrick Lamar cleaning up this award show.
And the Grammy goes to Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick Lamar.
He took home Grammy wins for Best Rap Album, Best Rap Song, Best Rap Performance, Best Rap Collaboration, and Best Music Video, basically winning every award Drake was nominated for. So after seeing all of this unfold, and probably having it sting even more to see Kendrick do so well, there's only one question left to ask. How would Drake respond?
It's what Jackie Dumpson, check it out. Now, listen, man, we gotta give it up. Champagne Poppy, Light Skin, Keith Sweat, men lie, women lie, but the goddamn Ghost Riders and the numbers never do.
In 2016, Drake would have one of the best years for a rapper, and it all started by dropping his album Views on April 29th, 2016. The album sold 852,000 copies in its first week.
Congrats, I mean, number one, you got that. You have the number one album. You have 20 songs in the Billboard Hot 100, Top 100. That's unbelievable.
It's been a slow week.
Yeah, congratulations.
Drake was the guy in 2016. The song One Dance featuring Wizkid actually became Spotify's most streamed song ever, and Drake went on to become Spotify's most streamed artist of the year. And although Views didn't have any direct disses I could see, not even 2 months went by without something happening between these two guys. DJ Khaled released a single called For Free. Yeah, the same song Kanye got sick and tired of hearing on the radio.
And everybody, is it just me? Or did you hear that song so many times? You say you want to pay it for free.
And of course, Drake was the feature on it. And on Drake's feature, he doesn't necessarily diss Kendrick, but he also isn't being nice.
And like your boy from Compton said, you know this dick ain't free.
And this is in reference to Kendrick saying this line on his song For Free from 2015.
This dick ain't free.
Now, I'm not going to say this was a peace offering, but it also wasn't a crazy diss either. It's just Drake trying to play mind games, in my opinion. And those same mind games didn't end there. As the day after For Free was released, the song 4 PM in Calabasas premiered, a continuation of Drake's AM PM series. And on this song, Drake disses Diddy, Meek Mill, and Joe Budden. But he also mentions his good friend Kendrick Lamar.
When he told me take a R&B on the road, and I told him no and drew for Kendrick and Rocky.
Again, I don't think it's a peace offering, but it definitely seems like a reflection back to better times between the two. As Drake is saying, even when he was pressured to take an R&B artist on the road, he fought to bring Kendrick and A$AP Rocky with him.
You know, it's people I can put on here that the label wants me to put on here, but I fight for this one reason, man. Like, I fight to promote what I love.
But with 2 Kendrick disses in 2 days that both didn't seem like disses, you might ask yourself the question, was Drake trying to make peace with Kendrick? Possibly, but not even 2 weeks later, on Monday, June 13th, 2016, former NFL player Marcellus Wiley clocked into his first shift as a member of the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef story. Marcellus was live on ESPN Radio, and he dropped a bombshell of a news story in regards to Drake and Kendrick Lamar. And although I couldn't find the exact ESPN rated recording, all I could find was a transcript. You don't gotta worry, Marcellus went on to talk about this more than once.
The Drake Kendrick beef, when it was really starting to brew.
Yeah.
I was on Sports Nation at the time, and we taped an interview with one of the people, and that one person went in on the other person. And we were ready to let this go, but then that one person's team made sure that didn't get out.
And also, according to Marcellus, the one rapper went so hard on the other one, it would have changed their beef forever. All I know that there was a beef, and all I know I was witness to when the beef would have ignited to proportions we have not seen since Ja Rule and 50, maybe even Ice Cube and NWA, like it went there. So all of this is sounding like a very easy puzzle to complete, until you realize Marcellus also said this in that 2016 ESPN radio interview. I can't say what I want to say, but I'm gonna say it anyways, because my contract is up and this might give me more money. And 2 years later, he used this story to also promote a book that he was going to sell, and this unreleased interview with Drake or Kendrick was something he was going to address.
Is there something that they don't know that they will find out and never shut up?
Of course.
Because there's always a big reveal in books, right?
Yeah. There's a beef that's out there that never got settled, never got the proper characters and the proper assessment, but I was witness to it on one of my shows.
Is that right?
The Drake Kendrick beef.
So we have to ask the question, was Marcellus releasing this information only to promote his stuff? Well, I'm not sure if it helped him get a higher salary, but he did address it in his book, admitting it was Drake who he interviewed. Although, he didn't mention anything about what Drake said, because he apparently was forced to bury the interview. But I was able to find something that is very interesting. I found an old tweet of a guy who claims he's at the studio the same day Marcellus interviewed Drake, and he claims he heard what Drake said because there was a tape delay. At Marcellus Wiley, Drake basically said that he makes music for a worldwide audience and that K-Dot makes music for people in Compton. And if K-Dot was with the shits, Drake was down to get it cracking. I was there that day. You interviewed KD that episode too. The show was on tape delay. And as you can see, Marcellus Wiley replied with a couple emojis. Although of course this is all just alleged and we still have no concrete proof of what was said, there is something to look at. In 2016 on Vlad TV, 2 years before this guy tweeted, Marcellus confirmed that there was a tape delay. Sometimes we tape, sometimes we go live. To the audience, it always looks live, but to us, we may have done it 2 hours earlier. That day, unfortunately, we were taping. So it seems like that part of the tweet is true. And if we look at the time frame, Drake was at ESPN Studios just days after he was steamily dissing Kendrick Lamar in Hot 97. So to me, I think it's possible Drake may have went too far in his interview with Marcellus, and they blocked its release. I also have to think if this is a lie, and Marcellus was going around saying these kinds of things, Drake or his team would have definitely addressed it publicly. I could be wrong, but I think that would be the case if this is all just a big hoax. Because even in 2024, Marcellus was still talking about this incident, dropping even more information.
We bring Drake on. Drake comes on the show. What Drake was saying was basically like, Kendrick, you ain't me. Kendrick, I'm the big dog. I got the numbers. I got the machine. I am the machine. Stay in your place, little man. Then hid behind your team. Let them call our bosses. You literally told ESPN, if y'all put out that show where I'm dissing Kendrick, I'm not hosting y'all ESPYs.
And if this is true, it definitely would have changed the course of the beef forever. But one thing that I know for sure wasn't a lie was the crazy storm brewing between these two artists. And as our story turns to the year 2017, it was about to rain. A lot. Both Drake and Kendrick were busy to start the year. First, Drake dropped his highly anticipated and my personal favorite Drake album, More Life.
I listened to the whole album and I'm like, yeah, this is Drake's best album. This is the most complete body of work to me.
But I know what you're thinking. You think Drake dissed Kendrick on this album, but to what I, and many others have seen, Drake didn't. But he did say something notable that we need to remember. On the song Guilechester, Drake rapped these lines.
I know I said top 5, but I'm top 2 and I'm not 2.
Here Drake makes a direct reference to his song The Grammys.
Top 5, no debating. Top 5, top 5, top 5.
Stating that he's no longer just top 5, he's top 2, but he's not number 2. In other words, he's calling himself the best rapper in the game. And you'd have to think saying something like this would definitely cause some issues. And well, it did just that. As only a week later, Kendrick Lamar dropped a song that we would come to know as The Heart Part 4.
People, everybody from the sweatshop guys get terminated today. We need one writing today. We need OVO Hush penning the hottest since 5 a.m. Toronto. Okay, Kendrick is disrespectful.
And well, this was a lot more direct than any song on Drake's More Life album.
My fans can't wait for me to sun your punk ass and crush your whole little. How big pun your punk ass? You a scared little bitch.
Now, it's not 100% clear who Kendrick is referring to here. It could be Drake, or it could be Big Sean, as Big Sean is known to use the phrase "lil" in his music, and him and Kendrick were also beefing. But I would be willing to confidently say this is towards Drake. The first reason is I think Kendrick wrote this song specifically in response to Drake. Why? Besides their huge beef going on, as we know, Drake just released his album More Life, and it was doing very well, which I'm sure Kendrick didn't want to see, especially after Drake just declared himself the best rapper in the game. Not to mention, something else happened that we have to take note of. Peter Rosenberg of Hot 97 learned that Kendrick Lamar wrote this song only a couple days after More Life came out.
Here's the only thing I can say that I learned about the song. What? It's not on the album.
Nope.
Okay. And he just had the idea for this like 2 days ago. Like this just happened. This song. This song was just like a yo, go.
So to me, it definitely seems like Kendrick heard Drake's album and got to work trying to dampen the celebration. But there were a lot more bars to follow. Bars that we can definitely say were for Drake.
Tiptoeing around my name. Lame, and when I get at you, homie, don't you tell me you were just playing. I was just playing, K-Guy. Come on, you know I can rock with you, bro.
Here, Kendrick is referring to Drake always subliminally dissing him and not calling him out by name, as well as making reference to Drake denying his disses towards him and trying to make peace. It actually seems like Kendrick is saying these as direct quotes, so it's possible the two of them had a conversation at some point and this is how it went. But Kendrick's main point is in regards to Drake subliminally dissing him, and in his words, tiptoeing around the situation. Unlike Kendrick, who actually called out everyone by name on his Control verse, including Drake. And although Drake has definitely subliminally dissed Kendrick a lot, if we were being honest, Kendrick has also done it. I'm not judging either, I'm just saying they've both done it. Yeah, Drake more, but you get my point. As the song continues, we learn to find out the real reason Kendrick dropped this song only days after Drake released his album.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I am the greatest rapper alive.
Kendrick directly responded to Drake's song Galchester.
I'm top 2 and I'm not 2.
And again, I will say this song was the reason Kendrick made the Hard Part 4, and it was all just to tell Drake he isn't the best rapper.
Tables turn, lesson learned, my best look.
Kendrick is talking about how things change and you learn lessons, but there's a catch. This is awfully similar to Drake's line on his song Pound Cake.
Tables turn, bridges burn, you live and learn.
But it gets even crazier. Kendrick then continues on to reference someone, most likely Drake, switching sides with him.
You jump sides on me, now you about to meet Westbrook.
Which in Kendrick and many others' point of view, Drake did. As after the Control verse, we know Drake and Kendrick were never the same compared to their once seemingly strong friendship. Now, what does Kendrick mean by you're about to meet Westbrook? Drake has a lot of friends in the celebrity world, and one of them is superstar basketball player Kevin Durant, who Drake has even referenced in his music before.
Shout out to KD, we relate, we get the same attention.
When I first heard it, you know, you're my favorite rapper. You get a shout out in the song, you know, you looking around and see if anybody else heard it, you know, because, you know, if somebody recognized me, we talk, you know, so
how does Kevin Durant relate to the Westbrook line in Kendrick's lyrics? Kevin Durant and another NBA superstar by the name of Russell Westbrook were teammates in the NBA for 8 years, playing for the Oakland City Thunder. But ultimately, Kevin Durant ended up leaving the OKC Thunder for the Golden State Warriors. And if you don't know basketball, they were the best team at the time. So to many, they felt that Kevin Durant betrayed Russell Westbrook and the Oakland City Thunder, because the Thunder lost to the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Final in 2016, ending in a very close 7-game series. Then after that season, Durant left them in free agency for that very same powerhouse team they just lost to.
The news again coming in moments ago, Kevin Durant heading to the Golden State Warriors. How are you viewing this move from Durant?
Well, I'm viewing it as the weakest move I've ever seen from a superstar.
Kendrick views Kevin Durant leaving his teammate of 8 years in Russell Westbrook as a betrayal, similar to how he views his relationship with Drake. The two were friends with a lot of respect for each other. Then Drake got upset over his Control verse and has been hating him and dissing him ever since. So he uses the "you're about to meet Westbrook" line to let Drake know he's looking for revenge against him, the same way Russell Westbrook was with Kevin Durant.
Go celebrate with your team and let victory vouch you.
This line circles back to the biggest reason Kendrick made this song, and the fact Drake just dropped and was celebrating his new album, More Life, which there's actually a video of Drake doing with his friends in the club. But although Drake might be celebrating now, Kendrick lets him know it's not going to last.
Just know the next game played, I might slap the shit out you. Technical foul, I'm flagrant, I'm foul. They throwing me out, you throwing the towel.
He gets pretty direct by saying that the next game they play, as in rap battle, he might destroy Drake with his lyrics. And he continues with the basketball terms, talking about fouls. In basketball, a foul is breaking a rule, and Kendrick uses it to play on words to describe himself, which in this sense, describing himself as foul would mean he is wicked or immoral, essentially saying that he's not afraid to go too far in his beef with Drake. And in the final line, he says they're throwing me out, referring to his fouls, because in basketball, if you commit too many, you're ejected from the game. And to end it, Kendrick says Drake will throw in the towel, which in other words means he will give up in the battle versus Kendrick or concede to defeat. But if you can believe it, Kendrick wasn't done letting Drake know he's not as special as he thinks.
Ho Jay-Z, Hall of Fame, sit your punk ass down.
Drake and Jay-Z have had an on and off relationship for years, but what Kendrick is doing bringing up Jay-Z is that Drake has often compared himself to him.
I used to want to be on Rockefeller, then I turned into Jay.
As well as the fact Jay-Z was the first rapper to be inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, which took place only a month before this song came out.
The first hip-hop artist to be inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, Mr. Sean Carter.
And of course, many consider Jay to be the best rapper, or at least one of the best of all time. So Kendrick is saying to Drake, you aren't close to Jay, business-wise, or in being the best rapper. You still have a long way to go.
So that means you ain't bigger than rapping. So that means no more playing the back scenes.
Kendrick continues his onslaught by making fun of Drake for saying he doesn't need to rap to make money, referring to Drake's song he released just days before in Galchester.
Virginia Black, I could go make enough money off that and not even rap.
In these lines, Drake is referencing his partnership with Brent Hawking in their whiskey business.
You also launched your own whiskey.
I did. It's called Virginia Black.
Virginia Black.
Kendrick is continuing to make fun of Drake for thinking he's like Jay-Z in rap, and in this case, business, because Jay-Z was still on another level.
Well, the wealthiest hip-hop artist of 2017. We're talking about the top 5 on the Forbes list. And number 5 is Drake.
That's an obvious choice.
With 90 million. Yeah, Diddy's at 820 million. Jay-Z's at 810 million.
Kendrick then continues to say he's at the top of the game, and he's not worried about any lists, referring to Drake talking about top 5s, and recently saying that he's top 2, and he's not number 2. But for his final line on the song, he gives a stern warning.
Y'all got till April the 7th to get your shit together.
A warning that Drake and everyone else in the rap game that Kendrick was coming with a new album. And well, to put it simple, they better get ready.
Let's just talk about Damn. I think this album's amazing.
On April 14th, 2017, Kendrick Lamar released his third official studio album called Damn.
I loved this particular project. The entire album was amazing. I love the album. I love the direction.
Damn, I loved it. I love the album. I expected to love it.
Kendrick's the best rapper who's ever lived. There's not a person who can rap on planet Earth better than Kendrick Lamar.
It ended up going on to sell 603,000 units in its first week, debuting number 1 on the Billboard charts. But of course, there was definitely one person listening to this album trying to find his name in it.
Wanna flex on me and be in LA for free, huh?
In the song Element, Kendrick references Drake's song For Free.
And like your boy from Compton said, you know this dick ain't free.
But when he's talking about someone being in LA flexing on him, he's probably referring to Drake's feature on the game's song 100 in their music video, which they of course shot in Compton. And funny enough, the game was actually asked if he thought Drake was dissing Kendrick on his own song.
Did you notice or feel like there were shots towards Kendrick on that song from Drake's side?
I didn't feel like that, and if I did, I wouldn't put the song out. But if Drake, was subliminal and slick,
yeah, he's slick with that.
Again, yeah, like he one of the best that ever do it. And even Kendrick is lyrically equipped to catch any stray and return fire.
Yeah.
So
So I'm guessing Kendrick didn't want to disappoint and let Drake know he saw it. But Kendrick, he still wasn't done there. Most of y'all throw rocks and try to hide your hand. And this line is definitely in reference to Drake's subliminal disses. And Kendrick is essentially saying, you're throwing rocks, but ducking for cover since you aren't mentioning my name in these subliminal disses. So in other words, I dare you to call me out. You won't do it. You're scared of me. Just say his name, and I promise that you'll see Candyman. Kendrick then follows that line with more words, trying to provoke Drake to name drop him, as he references a movie from the 1990s called Candyman. And in this movie, if you call out the name Candyman 5 times, he will come get you. So in other words, Kendrick is continuing to try and bait Drake just to say his name. Because Kendrick, he wants that smoke with Drake and thinks if they go at it, he's going to be the winner. But as much as Kendrick wants to stare at Drake, he also wants to troll and make fun of him. As on Kendrick's song God off of this album, he does just that by completely mimicking Drake's flow on the song Glow he had just released.
Now watch out for me, I'm about to glow. You feel some type of way, then
As you can see, it's an obvious troll and mockery of Drake, something that we definitely haven't seen the last of. But to everyone's surprise, there was a twist in this beef. After the sales came out between More Life and Damn, Kendrick's album Damn actually outsold Drake's More Life. And the twist came when Drake got on Instagram and said, "Amazing to see our music moving," and even liked someone's comment saying get J. Cole, Kendrick, and Drake on the same record. Did Drake seriously not notice Kendrick's onslaught of disses that we just broke down? Maybe it was just mental games by Drake, which he's definitely known for, but it definitely seems like he was steering towards a possible peace offering.
And Drake is commenting about it. Why? Why?
Why?
No. Why?
Hey, listen. First of all, I do think Drake does everything by strategy. However, I think Drake has realized that Kendrick kicked his ass. Yeah. So he says it's good for the culture. However, I know he's fucking steaming.
Either way, only a short time later in May of 2017, Kendrick wanted to keep his foot on the gas and show Drake he doesn't care that their music is moving or if he might want to work together, as he had finally gotten to a place in the beef where he felt like he had beaten Drake at his own game. The numbers.
Mask Off, one of Future's biggest singles of all time. He dropped a remix with Kendrick yesterday. What'd you guys think?
And he was definitely taking shots at Drake. Are we agreeing with that?
Because he's talking about selling records.
Man, yo, hold on. Let me go to the lyrics.
No. Is Drake scared of Kendrick? Let me get my direct question.
Yes.
On the remix to Future's smash hit Mask Off, Kendrick again continues to openly mock Drake. On this line, Kendrick says that he has the Midas touch, but what does that mean? Someone with the Midas touch has the ability to make a financial success of everything, or in other words, everything they touch turns into gold. And it just so happens, Drake also thinks he has this Midas touch.
They just mad cause I got the Midas touch.
In his beef with Meek Mill, Drake used the same line to make fun of him for barely ever being able to get a gold certification on his albums. And a gold certification is 500,000 plus units sold. And Drake, well, he has the Midas touch, remember. All his albums turn into gold with ease. So seeing this and having his last 3 albums do gold or better, Kendrick wanted to let Drake know he also has this Midas touch. But Kendrick still wasn't done letting Drake know about his success.
Platinum. Gotta look at self and ask what happened. How y'all let a conscious go commercial while only making conscious albums?
On this line, he repeats the word platinum 3 times in reference to Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, and Damn, reaching that platinum status for having over 1 million units sold on each of them. But what makes that special to Kendrick is that he did it as a conscious rapper, which Drake tried to downplay on the song 100 when he said that he could take all of Kendrick's fans if he stayed making that kind of music. Essentially, Drake was trying to stun Kendrick and call him boring. So Kendrick is now coming back around to flex on Drake. And you have to tip your cap for Kendrick. He did it his way by being a conscious rapper. In saying that though, he did also tap into the pop scene with his rapping and had a lot of success with it. Like getting a song with Taylor Swift, which if you think about it, is actually pretty crazy.
Well, we both was in LA, so I came to her studio session.
Right.
She had the music up and I started writing and jumped in the booth and we laid it down.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
But what was more crazy is what a great year Kendrick had in 2017 with his album Damn. So now the question is, was the success going to continue? To start the year on January 4th, 2018, Kendrick decided to let Drake know he saw his Instagram comment from the year prior congratulating him on his success. And well, he had something to say about it. "Screw you and all your expectations. I don't even want your congratulations. I recognize your false confidence and calculated promises all in your conversation." Kendrick doesn't care what Drake has to say to him now that he's doing so well. He can keep whatever he's dishing. Not to mention, he's alluding to not believing Drake's attempts at peace offerings and that it's all complete BS and fake talk. And if we were being honest, do you think Drake would truly want peace, or are those peace offerings coming with ulterior motives?
I hate people that feel entitled. Look at me crazy cause I ain't invite you. Oh, you important, you the moral to the story. You ain't cussing, motherfucker, I don't even like you.
He then continues on to paint Drake as an entitled main character, possibly alluding to him being surprised Kendrick wouldn't invite him to patch things up after Drake seemingly tried to. Then to me, Kendrick goes on to tell Drake on the third line, "You think you're so important that I should just drop everything and make peace with you just because you want to now. Buddy, I don't even like you." And there will be different interpretations for those bars, but it's safe to say Kendrick was definitely getting at Drake one way or another, and Kendrick is not looking to make up. And well, the boy Drake, I think he got Kendrick's message loud and clear regarding not wanting to make peace, so much that he decided he had to respond once again, as only 2 weeks after Kendrick's verse from All the Stars dropped, Drake released his single Diplomatic Immunity on January 20th, 2018. And to put it lightly, he had some shade for Kendrick.
Diplomatic immunity, fuck 'em. All that peace and that unity, all that weak shit'll ruin me, fuck 'em.
To start, Drake talks about diplomatic immunity, which is also the title of the song. But what does that even mean? A diplomat is someone who is appointed to essentially bring peace between two states, countries, etc. And this diplomat receives diplomatic immunity, which allows them to be exempt from some laws and to give them more safety to try and get the job done. This is why Drake continues on to say, "I'm done with all that peace and unity." And he's saying, if I keep up with this peace offering approach, it will ruin me. And for good measure, he says screw whoever he was trying to make peace with. So I ask you the question, who has Drake seemingly tried to make peace with? Kendrick. As we talked about, the year before, Drake was congratulating Kendrick on his success and even liking comments about the big three collaborating again. And just a couple weeks before this song came out, Kendrick said he didn't want any congratulations, peace offerings, and well, he flat out said he didn't like Drake from what it seemed like. So Drake jumps on a track a couple weeks later and opens it by literally saying he's done trying to make peace. And I know some people are going to say this is a reach, and that's okay. Everyone will have their opinion. But not to worry, Drake wasn't done painting the picture for us.
Cause started talking to me like I'm slowing down.
He immediately continues to reference Kendrick by saying people are talking to him like he's slowing down, aka falling off, disrespecting him, etc. And this is a direct response to multiple Kendrick Lamar subliminals from 2017 like yelling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm the greatest rapper alive, platinum, 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 gotta look at yourself and ask what happened. And if I'm being honest, there could be more, but you get my point. Kendrick has been saying he's the best rapper, flexing his commercial success, and just overall trying to sun Drake. Drake then continues on to say, opinions over statistics of course, gassed off journalistic. So in other words, Drake is telling Kendrick, you might be better than me in the court of opinion, and you're all hyped off of what the journalists and media are saying about you.
Kendrick's the best rapper who's ever lived.
But statistically, I am still the bigger and better artist, which if we look at the stats in 2018, Drake technically was bigger.
Come at me and all you'll get is the ballistic report.
He then essentially warns Kendrick that if he comes at him, there will be a battle, to put it lightly, as a ballistic report is defined as the examination of evidence from firearms that may have been used in a crime. So at this point, you could definitely say that things are starting to heat up.
They try to compare us, but like a job straight out of high school, there's no you and I taught you everything you know, now you got student pride.
Drake then goes on to say these lines literally 30 seconds later, and they are right for Kendrick once again. As we know, Drake and Kendrick Lamar have been compared for years at this point, and Drake continues to try and sun Kendrick by telling him that there's no comparison. And Drake taught him everything he knows, referring to early on in Kendrick's career when Drake brought Kendrick on tour with him and probably taught him a few things about performing, as Kendrick himself even said he wasn't used to those big crowds.
The transition of me doing the 2,000 venues I was doing back then is a little sketchy for me doing this 10,000. I gotta really work some up magic.
But with the 2018 Grammys around the corner, the speculation was already starting. Who was gonna do better?
And the Grammy goes to, damn, Kendrick Lamar.
And the answer to that question was very easy to find, as Drake didn't submit any of his music to the 2018 Grammys. And his reasoning was to try and boycott the entire event.
A person close to the nomination process, speaking on the condition of anonymity, said Drake did not submit the playlist for Album of the Year or Best Rap Album. The same source said Drake did not submit any of the songs from the body of work for categories like Song of the Year, Record of the Year, or Best Rap Song.
So once again, Kendrick was in the spotlight, winning mainstream awards and doing well in the public eye. He won the Grammys for Best Rap Album, Best Rap Song, Best Music Video, Best Song Performance, and Best Rap Performance, all from his very successful album, Damn. And Drake, he would have been watching his rival do all of this from the seat of his home. But best believe while he was watching Kendrick's success, he was also plotting his revenge.
If anything, it's telling us we're in for a hell of a 2018 because he's probably seen Kendrick clean up at the Grammys, and I could imagine he just wants to dominate.
All right, I'll guess. I have no idea that it's going to be a big year for Drake in 2018. I don't.
Drake released his album Scorpion on June 29th, 2018. And this album did absolutely insane, selling 732,000 copies in its first week. With the help from hit songs like God's Plan, In My Feelings, and Nonstop, the album was a force to be reckoned with and stamped Drake at the top of the game.
Billboard reported on Monday that industry sources tell them that Scorpion has set a new US one-week streaming record for an album with over 435 million streams.
But you just had to know, Drake didn't forget about his pal Kendrick.
I walk in godly form amongst the mortal men.
In these lines, more patterns repeat themselves as Drake continues to try and sun Kendrick while also referencing another song off To Pimp a Butterfly and Mortal Man. A light jab, but still a jab nonetheless. But as we reach the end of 2018, another surprising turn in this story was brought to us. Drake seemingly tried to make peace with Kendrick again by giving him some flowers.
I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for, the other two guys that I'm constantly, up against, which is like Cole and Kendrick.
Three-headed monster.
Yeah. So I have a lot of respect for those guys because they also continue to, stay true to what we started with, and finding new ways to do it.
And again in 2019, where he leaked old DMs between the two, looking back on their friendship. Drake, whatever happened to screw the peace? In all seriousness, it could be peace, it could be mind games. Regardless, we know by now, Kendrick Lamar isn't buying it. But after years of subliminal disses and an intense rivalry, suddenly everything went quiet. And the only question left to ask was why.
I think that last decade, they fought as long as they could fight, and the decade ended without us having a decisive winner.
Yeah, I'm excited that the decade's about to turn and we're gonna see who can, who can go that extra stretch.
While Kendrick took an album break after 2017, Drake kept his foot on the gas to end the decade and to begin the new one. He did that by dropping a lot of music, and I mean a lot. Aside from his successful album Scorpion in 2018, he had smash hit songs like Look Alive with Blockboy JB, Money in the Grave with Rick Ross, Life is Good with Future, Tuesday Slide, Popstar in Grease with DJ Khaled, Dark Lane demo tapes, Laugh Now Cry Later with Lil Durk, Wants and Needs with Lil Baby, and Lemon Pepper Freestyle with Rick Ross. During this time period, it almost seemed like Kendrick had vanished, and Drake, he was untouchable at the top of the game. But in 2021, there was a sign of life in this beef. And well, if only we knew how much of a sign this little flickering light actually was.
Kendrick, you ain't take this big of a hiatus and then open up out the gate with the disrespect. You ain't do that. You ain't do that, Kung Fu Kenny. This is a whole different Kenny. Hold on.
It took you 5 years to make a song with Baby Keem talking about I'm smoking on your top 5? What top 5 you smoking on, Kendrick?
On August 27th, 2021, the song Family Ties by Baby Keem featuring Kendrick Lamar dropped. And Kendrick, he was back on his timing.
Smoking on your top 5 tonight.
Yes, you heard that correctly. Kendrick once again makes reference to Drake's top 5 lyrics from 2016. And he's letting Drake know on this song that he's back from his break and he's still the best. But at the time, not everyone thought this was a Drake diss. Although, there was one very smart person named Joe Budden who did.
This Kendrick verse is not, you told me this verse is about Drake. This is Control again. Yo, I'm better than everybody. Whoever,
You falling for the consumer Kendrick trick. And that trick is gonna allow him to have a crutch. So when he's asked about it in interviews, he can give us that same bullshit that he gave us with Control. Oh, that's to whoever, take it how you want. No.
But Kendrick, he still wasn't done and had something to tell Drake.
Don't you address me unless it's with 4 letters.
And if you didn't put it together yet, those 4 letters are GOAT, the greatest of all time. But as you can imagine, Drake heard what Kendrick had to say, and just a few weeks later on September 3rd, 2021, he released his highly anticipated album, Certified Lover Boy. And on the song No Friends in the Industry, he had bars for Kendrick.
Debating who to go. You cannot make shit about the numbers, all I know.
And for me, I felt like Drake had been waiting a while during the break in this beef to remind Kendrick he's the top dog when it comes to the numbers. As during Kendrick's break, Drake completely took over and became a huge mainstream artist.
Cause my top 5 is Drake.
And if you remember almost 10 years before, when Drake was comparing responding to Kendrick to how Michael Jordan doesn't have to play pickup to prove he can play ball, imagine what he was thinking of himself now. But Drake, he was thinking of something, and it was that he wanted to start out 2022 with the first jab in his fight with Kendrick Lamar. On the song Churchill Downs with Jack Harlow that dropped on May 6th, 2022, Drake had this to say. All I hear is tall tales coming from little men, same ones that say they run the game when they're not even in it. Drake is taking a personal shot at Kendrick on this song, saying that all he hears are tall tales, aka big words, coming from little men, referring to Kendrick standing at 5'6" and himself being 6'1". He then continues to say these same little men are the ones that say they run the game, a direct response to Kendrick calling himself the GOAT, the greatest rapper alive, etc., aren't even in the rap game anymore, which is Drake calling out Kendrick for not releasing an album for 5 years. But there's a saying in this world, and that saying is be careful what you wish for, because it might just come true.
I feel like Kendrick's been telling us stories about his life for a really long time, but this is the first time I feel like I got to know him, right? It's been 5 years, like he says in the opening. He's been going through a lot.
And I'm just proud whenever Kendrick comes around that we have his mind and skill set in hip hop.
And then listening to Kendrick album on the way in, I didn't want to leave the car.
After 5 long years, Kendrick Lamar came back out of nowhere and released his album Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Some loved the album and some didn't, but Kendrick ended up doing a lot of damage, winning multiple awards for this album, as well as he made sure to take some time to diss his old friend Drake.
When Kanye got back with Drake, I was slightly confused. Guess I'm not mature as I think. Got some healing to do.
And when I hear Kendrick say this, all I can think about is that he's essentially saying, it could never be me. I'm never making up with you. Kanye is definitely more mature than me. And as fast as Drake and Kanye made up, their beef was too deep-rooted to actually be fixed as they went back to beefing. And I think Kendrick knows this is exactly what would happen between him and Drake, even if he wanted to make peace. But he doesn't, and it'll never happen. And Kendrick was actually reminded of that on his birthday of all days, as on June 17th, 2022, Kendrick Lamar's 35th birthday, Drake dropped his album called Honestly Nevermind. And this album was definitely different. It wasn't as much hip-hop, and a lot of people, didn't like it.
This is gonna be disappointing to y'all because I played this album and I'm not gonna have a discussion about it tonight. I'll say this to you, just to be honest, it was nothing I was expecting, even though I was told it was gonna be this. I still was in disbelief.
You know, the album to me are the vibes you hear when you're at a Beverly Hills luxury hotel. This is like a lobby elevator music. I'm never gonna revisit the album again, but if it comes on when I'm in the lobby of a luxury hotel, I'm not mad at it.
But there was a song on it that I really liked besides Jimmy Cook's with 21 Savage, and it's called Sticky. Although it is a catchy song, if you listen to the lyrics, it's more than just a radio hit. There's a part where he says a lot of stuff that looks like a direct response to Kendrick.
Couple hits, now you brave, what? You better behave, what? All that pumping up your chest, what? All that talk about the best, you know how sticky it gets.
Drake is literally responding to Kendrick's song with Baby Keem from the year before in Family Ties, where he was clowning Drake and calling himself the best.
Smoking on your top 5 tonight. I'm smoking on your what's the name tonight. Don't you address me unless it's with 4 letters.
And Drake is essentially telling Kendrick, you're talking confidently now because you have a couple hits, but you better watch how much you talk, because if you go too far, it's going to get sticky. And sticky could mean a lot of things, but all in all, he's saying it could get ugly with a beef Kendrick doesn't really want. And well, Drake thinks Kendrick will end up regret coming at him. But Drake, he wasn't done, and had a bit more to add at the end of the song. When everything is put to rest, and everybody takes a breath, and everything gets addressed, it's you alone with your regrets. All that pumping up your chest, all that talk about the best, you know how sticky it gets. And here Drake is saying, Kendrick is going to live to regret calling himself the GOAT. And I take this in 2 ways from Drake's thought process. One, if most people don't know by now, by the end of their careers, everyone will realize I'm the bigger and better artist, because I became such a juggernaut in music. And Kendrick, he's going to look like a fool for ever saying he's better than me. The second way I digest these lyrics is Drake is saying he knows eventually him and Kendrick are going to go toe to toe. And when that happens, Kendrick is going to lose and regret calling himself the GOAT and saying he's better than Drake. Man, I wonder if we're ever going to see that. But to the shock of many, Drake did something that still has people confused to this day. While Kendrick was on tour for his Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers album, he had a show in Toronto. And well, there was a special guest in the crowd.
Like, Drake was probably just standing there, just kind of looking at Kendrick like, enjoy your time here, bro. Like, I'm sorry. I think it's easy for them to be cool now because there's no competition. It's Drake and the rest of the field. Also, I think Drake likes to play mental games. I think Drake wants a challenge. I mean, he wanted people to know I'm here, I'm watching this shit. He know Kendrick has dropped out of the competition.
And some people will say this is Drake showing love to Kendrick to try and make peace, which he has arguably definitely done in the past. But in this instance, in my opinion, I think Drake showed up to step on Kendrick's toes a bit while he was in Toronto, his home city. Or maybe he really was trying to test the water and see how Kendrick would react. Regardless, Drake is smart, and he was playing mind games as he always does, as he knew very well this would go viral and get the people talking. But there would be a lot of talking only a month later, talking that Drake definitely didn't like, as Kendrick would continue to add more reasons to justify calling himself the GOAT. He ended up running away with the 2022 BET Awards after his 5-year break, winning the awards Artist of the Year, Album of the Year, Lyricist of the Year, and Best Live Performer of the Year. And Drake had a pretty good year with a few nominations, but Kendrick was the one who dominated. But as the calendar year flips to 2023, this beef may be another year older, but in reality, it was still just getting started.
Anyway, Drake on his new song, and I think this is a song with Uzi. I didn't even hear the song, but the lyrics are out there.
On April 7th, 2023, Drake played a song on OVO Radio called At the Gates, featuring Lil Uzi Vert. This song had been rumored since 2021, but officially previewed in 2023. Although, there are 2 things about this song that are interesting. 1, it's sadly never officially been released. And 2, you probably guessed it, Drake had some disses for Kendrick Lamar on it.
Fake woke, fake deep. You ain't no fame before me. Yeah, your ass a little sneak peek. Yeah. Now you gotta take a back seat.
In this line, Drake is responding to Kendrick's N95 song from his new album where he says,
Take off the fake deep, take off the fake woke, take off the I'm broke, I care.
And what Drake is alluding to on his verse is that he doesn't think Kendrick is authentic in his music or as for the culture as he portrays. And in reality, he's the fake woke and fake deep person. He then references bringing Kendrick on tour 10 years before, when Kendrick was first starting to get traction in the mainstream and wasn't used to all the fame. And when we look at the final line, Drake makes it more clear he is dissing Kendrick by telling him to take a back seat, and this is actually a triple entendre. First, it's a reference to Kendrick's backseat freestyle from Kendrick's debut album, Good Kid, Mad City. It's also another dig at Kendrick's height, as you have to be a certain height to sit in the front seat of a car. And thirdly, he's telling Kendrick he has to take a back seat to him in the car of rap, as he's in the driver's seat for all of hip hop right now. But Kendrick, he doesn't care about what Drake has to say about his height, fake activism, or anything about him. One could argue he doesn't consider Drake a threat at all and never has. Now why do I say that? Because he continues to prove this to us in his lyrics. As on his first release of 2023, he went in on Drake during his feature on the remix to Beyonce's song, America Has a Problem.
It's universal, please don't play possum, I'm a businessman, doing as follows. Truthfully, I be lying in my rap song, cause I always felt a mission I slap on me.
On the first line, Kendrick references Universal, the music label. 2 lines down, he makes a confession where he admits he's been lying in his songs. Now what has he been lying about? He says failing to mention he'd slap homie. Now who's the homie who he's had a 10-year feud with and is Universal's darling? Drizzy Drake.
I've heard Drake has re-upped at least 3 times to Universal. It's not the first time he's renegotiating this deal.
He then proceeds to say his career didn't come with no life insurance. Hope his day one fans got some facts on him. Furthering his possible hate towards Drake, referencing that if the beef goes the distance, they won't be able to collect anything from what's left of him, as when someone has life insurance and passes away, a designated beneficiary receives a sum of money after. But Kendrick is saying in this case, that's not going to happen.
You better get it off your chest like breath reduction. If she stress over you, she stress for nothing.
Kendrick Lamar then goes on to taunt Drake, trying to provoke him to say what's on his mind and how he feels about their beef. It really does seem like Kendrick was ready and wanted all the smoke with Drake. And to cap it off, he pretty much calls Drake a loser and says that if a girl is stressed over him, she's stressed over nothing. To me, a possible reference to Drake's album from a few months prior and Her Loss. And the entire premise of Her Loss is around Drake and 21 Savage talking about women, relationships, etc. So Kendrick is saying, it's not her loss. She didn't lose nothing if she lost you. But only a few weeks later, something else happened.
Baby Keem and Kendrick put out a visual. Where do we want to go with this, man?
If we look at the song The Hillbillies by Baby Keem and Kendrick Lamar that came out on June 5th, 2023, it once again shows Kendrick isn't scared of Drake at all, doesn't respect him, and is ready to go toe-to-toe. If we listen to the beat of this song, it's pretty much a straight copy of the sticky beat Drake used to diss Kendrick on the year before. So similar, people literally swapped the beats on YouTube in comparison, and it was brought up a lot at the time.
Baby, I'm high profile, don't ever tell them you.
Yo, why the fuck does this sound like, yeah, like, wait, hold on, wait. It just sounds like just a lower, like, hey, homie hanging on my neck.
But that's not all. When the song originally dropped, Baby Keem tweeted saying, Sticky Dub, essentially a remix of the song Sticky. Sticky was on Drake's album Honestly Nevermind that he dropped a year prior, the same one that dropped on Kendrick Lamar's birthday, and the same one he dissed Kendrick on that we previously went over. And essentially Drake was telling Kendrick on that song, you're going to regret calling yourself the best rapper. But the fun and games really get started with the title of the song, The Hillbillies, and it gets pretty complex, so I need you to stay with me. On the song Sticky, Drake talks about being the king of the hill, and the hill is a steep one. The definition of king of the hill is a person who is in command or is very successful, and it's also a game kids play to see who can be at the top of the higher ground. So to me, when Drake says king of the hill, it's possible he's referring to being the king of rap, and the hill he is talking about is his lead in hip hop, and that lead is a steep one. So in conclusion, king of the hill and the hill is a steep one is Drake saying he's the best rapper in the game by a large margin. So Kendrick and Baby Keem make the joke that they're the hillbillies, the guys at the bottom of Drake's steep hill, or it's just to mock Drake for saying he's the king of the hill, aka mocking him for calling himself the best rapper in the game. And honestly, I would be inclined to call this a reach, but the fact they copied the Sticky beat, the same song Drake dissed Kendrick on, the same song Drake released on Kendrick's birthday, and Baby Keem literally confirmed it's a Sticky dub, isn't really a reach. But whatever it is, there are a lot more clues showing us Kendrick and Baby Keem were responding to Drake, that there's definitely no way are just coincidences. To start, on Drake's opening line of Sticky, he says,
Homie hanging on my neck, the bracelet matches a set.
And Drake is referencing Frank Ocean's independent luxury company, Homer. In March 2022, Drake sat courtside at an NBA game wearing Homer's 127.5 carat Sphere Legs diamond necklace, which has a retail price of $1.9 million. and he paired that with a matching 41-carat sphere legs bracelet worth $272,000. And the song The Hillbillies begins with Kendrick saying,
I don't buy much, I buy land, bro.
A direct opposite response to what Drake said on Sticky, as many would consider buying jewelry a dumb purchase and land a smart purchase. Another coincidence is when Kendrick goes on to say,
I ain't even got a fact check, all I'm wearing is Wells Bonner.
On Drake's song Sticky, right before he goes on to diss Kendrick, he says,
For me, niggas gotta do a fact check for me.
Pretty coincidental, don't you think? Another comparable I found was Drake saying on Sticky,
Hey yo, Eric, bring them girls to the stage, cause somebody's getting paid.
and Baby Keem using the exact same flow and similar lyrics on Hillbillies.
Messy, get them girls off the stage, cause somebody's gonna get taken.
Kendrick and Baby Keem reference Messi, as in Lionel Messi, the widely considered best soccer player of all time, to Kendrick on this song numerous times. So Baby Keem is telling Kendrick on this line to get the girls off the stage cause somebody's gonna get taken, directly mirroring Drake saying, Ayo Eric, bring them girls to the stage cause somebody's getting paid. And I'm not gonna say what I think they're alluding to here, but if you don't know what I'm thinking, let's just say you'll find out soon. Another theory we also have to look at is why Kendrick is calling himself Lionel Messi. As I mentioned, Messi is often referred to as the best player in the world when it comes to soccer. And if you look at Drake's song Sticky, in which Kendrick and Baby Keem are mocking on this song, he told Kendrick he will regret calling himself the best rapper in the game. So, Kendrick could be responding to Drake by saying, No Drake, I'm the Messi of the rap game, aka the best in hip hop, which as we know by now, they've been going back and forth about for years at this point. Although, maybe Kendrick is just calling himself Messi because they're both 5'7" and he's actually a fan of his. Not to mention, they also referred Baby Keem to Neymar Jr., another soccer player who was Lionel Messi's teammate for many years. But to me, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think Kendrick was saying I'm the Lionel Messi of the rap game. It's also not the first time Kendrick has used pro athletes to diss Drake, as he also used Russell Westbrook on the Heart Part 4 in 2017 that we broke down earlier. And if we look at this song for what it is, these guys are literally just trolling Drake's song Sticky the entire time. And I have to mention, they also ended up performing this song at Camp Flog Gnaw that same year, the same place Drake was booed off the stage at.
If you wanna keep going, I will keep going tonight.
But as we would get deeper into the summer of 2023, just a month after The Hillbillies was released, Drake appears to have made more time to respond to both Kendrick and Baby Keem on Travis Scott's song Meltdown from his album Utopia.
I love the on a regular bitch. Famous hoes lame, but they stay on my dick.
On the song The Hillbillies, Baby Keem was talking about Kendrick knowing he wants a famous girl. And on Meltdown, Drake says famous girls love him, but he prefers regular women. It also just so happens, Drake has allegedly DM'd Baby Keem's girl before in the past, so it seems like there could be a link to these lyrics between Drake and Baby Keem. On the song Family Ties, Baby Keem said,
Number 2 DM in my bitch. That's cool, that's why.
Number 2 is in reference to Drake being the second best rapper in the game, and of course, Kendrick is number 1. So again, more back and forth disputing who's the best rapper in the game. Drake then continues on to also call their new stuff embarrassing, which to me, I can definitely see being his response to this song, cause let's be honest, they were making fun of Drake the entire time, and other people, they thought this song was different to say the least.
Hey bro, all you guys saying ass, I like it, it's different bro, it's unique, and it's K. Lamar and Keem bro.
Although after these lines, he seemingly goes in on Kanye and Pusha T, so this could also be about them as well. But there's something I have to add to my reasoning for thinking Drake is responding to Kendrick and Baby Keem, besides it being 2 months later and the timing making complete sense. My reasoning for thinking this is that later in the song, Travis Scott says this. When we look back to The Hillbillies, Kendrick and Baby Keem refer Lionel Messi to Kendrick numerous times, and Neymar Jr. to Baby Keem. As we mentioned, Messi is widely regarded as the best soccer player, a possible response to Drake saying Kendrick will regret calling himself the best. On Meltdown, Travis Scott refers to the boy, aka Drake, as Messi, and himself, Tom Brady, arguably the best quarterback in the NFL of all time. And what Travis is doing is essentially mimicking what Baby Keem did on the Hillbillies a month prior with Kendrick Lamar, but now he's doing it with Drake. And I totally get it if people think this is a stretch, but I definitely think it's worth a conversation, because to me, there's a good chance Drake was responding to them on this song with Travis Scott's help. Although something that isn't up for any debate was what happened next in this beef. During the same month of July 2023, Drake was on his It's All a Blur tour with 21 Savage, selling out shows left and right. But he said something very obvious during one of these concerts.
I don't know about these guys that go away 3, 4, 5 years, want to chill out, all that shit. That's not me.
Clearly, Drake is dissing Kendrick Lamar, referencing his absence from 2017 to 2022. And well, he was comparing that to himself, who is active every year with his foot on the gas, releasing hit music. But 2 months later in September 2023, something happened that came out of nowhere. The original version of the song Element off of Kendrick's 2017 album Damn got leaked, and he had some crazy bars for Drake at the time. Drake, your Meek Mill beef might get you gassed up, but I'm a whole nother beast. I'd really F you up. Now can you just imagine for a minute if Kendrick released this in 2017? I feel like there would have been diss tracks dropping left and right if it did. And at this point, 2023 was starting to heat up, but it was starting to get so hot, someone might actually get burned. Only a month after the song leak, Drake released his highly anticipated album For All the Dogs on October 6, 2023. And this album was immediately met with mixed reviews. Some liked it, and some didn't.
Where is the verse that Yachty said is arguably one of the best verses Drake has ever written? It's nowhere on this project.
No.
Well, Ebro, it seems like I, like you, went into this album expecting a Drake album. So I don't know what everybody's mad about. It's exactly what I thought he was gonna give us.
There's certain songs that instantly jump out the page at me. I'm like, okay, these are those fire. But then there's other joints I'm like, I don't know about this joint. I don't really know how to judge this project right now. I'm gonna just be honest with you.
But something that wasn't up for debate was Drake dissing Kendrick Lamar. On the song Away From Home, Drake rapped these lines. I'm trying to keep it humble, I'm trying to keep it gracious. Who give a f that Michelle Obama put you on her playlist? Then we never hear from you again, like you was taken. And on the first line, Drake is referencing Kendrick's song Humble as a play on words, and says that he is also keeping it gracious, a clear connection with the words humble and gracious. But he goes on to contradict that by saying who cares Michelle Obama put you on her playlist, which is a reference to Kendrick Lamar getting on Michelle's year-end playlist and Drake didn't. The second time he hasn't been chosen by an Obama. Then on the final line, Drake takes a jab at Kendrick for disappearing from 2017 to 2022, which he had just done at the concert the previous summer. And as we end 2023, the longtime beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar simply couldn't keep going on the way it has been. There was too much bad blood, too much tension, and too much pride. So it was simple, something was going to have to give. And well, in 2024, something did give, and it not only changed this beef, but hip-hop forever.
So this a Kendrick feature, and he must be talking crazy. I saw tweeting about it. I don't know what the hell he said.
Kendrick Lamar, Kung Fu Kenny, is back, and he wants straight smoke.
I can't help the fact that that was a great verse. I can't. Sorry, Drake. I can't help it. That was...
On Friday, March 22nd, 2024, Kendrick Lamar made a decision that he was ready to take on Drake toe-to-toe, as he went for Drake's head on Metro Boomin and Future's album, We Don't Trust You. And little did we know what this day in song would end up contributing to this longtime beef.
These talking out of their neck. Don't put no coughing out of your mouth. I'm way too paranoid for a threat.
Right from Kendrick's first verse, he's responding to Drake and J. Cole's song, First Person Shooter, when J. Cole opened with this line.
First person shooter mode, we turning your son to a funeral.
And Kendrick, he is telling both Drake and J. Cole they're talking out of their weight class, because neither one of them will be able to take him on in a rap battle. He also says talking out their necks as a reference to a dog being on a leash, a reference to Drake's album, For All the Dogs. Furthermore, he uses the word coffin, a direct response to Cole's line saying we turning your song to a funeral.
DOT, the money, power, respect. The last one is better.
In these two lines, Kendrick pays homage to his own song from 2012, Backseat Freestyle. All my life I want money and power, respect my mind, or die from lead shower. But what Kendrick is doing here is that he's trying to sun Drake and J. Cole by saying he has the three most important ingredients in rap: money, power, and respect. And they don't have all three. Those three words have been highlighted in the world for years, and Kendrick, he knows it.
When you have all the money in the world and, you know, all the awards and accolades and stuff, you always want their respect.
That's why he especially emphasizes respect, as he is dissing Drake by saying he gets more respect in hip-hop as a rapper, something Drake has always seemingly had to work harder to get since some don't respect him in the culture. But Kendrick, he was just getting started with Drake in respect. Kendrick then continues to use his pen by saying there's a lot of goofies with the check, and this small line actually has a ton of depth to it. To start, Kendrick is calling Drake a goofy, which is someone who, as we know, is silly or ridiculous. It's also the name of a cartoon character who isn't the smartest dog, and who do we know that dropped an album called For All the Dogs? Kendrick also references Drake by saying it's a lot of goofies with a check. The word check has multiple meanings towards Drake. The first is he's sponsored by Nike, whose logo is a check mark. The word check is also in reference to money, and a verified check on social media, which Drake obviously has.
Sneak this in first person shooter. I hope they came with 3 switches. Motherfuck the big 3. It's just big me.
Once again, Kendrick responds to the song First Person Shooter, this time in regards to when J. Cole said this: "Love when they argue the hardest MC. Is it K-Dot, is it Aubrey, or me? We the big 3, like we started a league." The big 3 has been referred to as Drake, Kendrick, and Cole for some time now.
I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for, you know, the other two guys that I'm constantly, you know, up against, which is like Cole and Kendrick.
Three-headed monster.
Yeah.
And although Drake and Cole have both acknowledged the existence of this big 3, Kendrick isn't, and he says it doesn't exist. It's just him at the top.
And your best work is a light pack. Prince outlived Mike Jack.
In the first half of this line, Kendrick is saying that Drake's best albums aren't that good compared to his. In the second half, he is referencing Drake comparing himself to Michael Jackson.
Bro, I don't want away from Michael. Beat it. What?
So Kendrick, he decided to compare himself to Prince. But the usage of these two legendary artists runs deeper than what it seems. Kendrick is comparing himself to Prince because he's referencing how Prince lived longer than Michael Jackson. So he's saying he's going to outlive Drake in the long run.
For all your dogs getting buried, that's a K with all these 9s. You gon' see Pet Cemetery.
Kendrick ends his verse by referring to Drake's album For All the Dogs numerous times. To begin, he talks about how he's going to bury all his dogs, and then he uses the letter K and the number 9 as a double entendre. The first meaning of K9 is the other term used to refer to a dog, but the other meaning for Kendrick that he's using is in regards to a K being more powerful than a 9 in terms of guns. He then goes on to finish it off by saying he's going to see a pet cemetery, alluding he's going to destroy Drake and his friends, referring to rap obviously. Kendrick really wasn't playing with this line, and his wordplay on this song is actually crazy. But little did we know what Kendrick's wordplay was about to lead to.
It's here. It's time. God damn.
Ladies and gentlemen, what did I tell you? I told you he was gonna respond.
A couple weeks later, Drake shocked the world and responded to everyone attacking him on his diss track Push-Ups. And although this song was a diss towards all of his enemies, he of course has some shots for Kendrick Lamar.
You won't never take no chain off of us. How the fuck you big stepping with a size 7 man's on?
Drake takes his first shot at Kendrick Lamar by responding to him saying he would take Drake's chain on the song Like That.
Got 2 T's with me. I'm snatching chains and...
He then makes a reference to Kendrick's 2022 album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, by asking Kendrick, how can he be a big stepper with a size 7 men's shoe?
Extortion, baby, hoping red, you been shook up. This top, so you drop it, give me 50 likes a push-ups.
On the first line, Drake uses the word extortion to allude Kendrick was pushed to take a deal with Top Dog as he has alleged ties to the Bloods. Then Drake uses the phrase drop and give me 50 as a double entendre. First, it's in reference to a viral video of Kendrick doing push-ups in 2023. And the second meaning behind drop and give me 50 is Drake alleging Kendrick has to give his label TDE 50% of his earnings when he drops music. And although this isn't confirmed, as the details of Kendrick's deal weren't made public, what we do know is he signed it and it was when he was 16 years old. So it probably wasn't the greatest deal in the world. But he left his former label TDE in 2022 with good spirits. So whatever it was, Kendrick was seemingly happy about it or accepted it.
Your last one brick, you really not on. They make excuses for you cause they hate to see me lit.
Drake then goes on to say that the album Kendrick spent 5 years working on, and Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, wasn't the biggest fan favorite of rap fans, and some people say it was a flop. Even J. Cole didn't like it.
First was classic, your last was tragic.
But the album actually sold 295,000 in its first week, and Kendrick went on to eclipse the highest grossing hip-hop tour of all time with his Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers tour. And he won a few Grammys. But what Drake is saying is that it wasn't as popular as his previous albums, and you could definitely say that's true. He then says they make excuses for Kendrick because they hate to see Drake lit. And what this means is that Kendrick can do no wrong in a lot of people's eyes.
Kendrick is always going to be a media darling. He has the ability to make you believe he had no idea this was going to happen. Like, I look at him and I go...
And if Drake does anything that isn't groundbreaking, they're trying to bring him down.
You will essentially not be able or not be willing to dedicate hours in a day to controlling every narrative. I can't fix every rumor. I can't address every single thing.
Unlike when Kendrick does something that isn't his best work or is controversial, he is rewarded for it or has it spun in a positive way.
Pull your contract, cause we gotta see the split. The way you doing splits, your pants might rip.
Off the rip, when Drake is talking about a contract split, he's referencing how much labels were in Kendrick's pockets. Because as we just went over, it's rumored it could be 50%. Who knows what it actually is, but the point being, he's splitting that money. And for Drake, he signed to Universal for $500 million and kept all his masters. But there is more than one meaning when it comes to the contract split. As we move to the second line, Drake is saying the way you're doing splits, your pants might rip, alluding to there being a lot of splits. And the other split Drake is possibly referring to is what did Kendrick have to do in order to leave TDE? Because it wasn't just a going away party celebrating Kendrick leaving. Drake is saying he had to agree to something to get out of that contract, and it probably wasn't very good.
Maroon 5 need a verse, you better make it witty. Then we need a verse for the Swifties.
Drake then moves on to attacking Kendrick's reputation as a conscious rapper, pointing out he has done songs with mainstream pop artists like Maroon 5 and Taylor Swift. This is a big deal to Drake because it's always said that Kendrick Lamar is the savior and leader regarding real hip hop. So Drake is saying, hey buddy, what about these songs? Did you forget? And to top it off, Drake is alluding to Kendrick being no different than any other artist signed to a label, as he is saying Kendrick was forced to do those collabs by his label. As the label knows, working with the likes of Maroon 5 and Taylor Swift is going to make a lot of money. Although in Kendrick's defense, he wasn't doing any singing on these records or anything too crazy, the songs did really well.
Pimp squeak, pipe down. You ain't in no big breeze. SZA got you wiped down. Travis got you wiped down. Savage got you wiped down.
In the first line, Drake is flat out being disrespectful, calling Kendrick a pipsqueak due to his height. But it's also in regards to artistry, as Drake is the bigger artist numbers-wise overall. But he then went on to respond to Kendrick saying F the Big Three on his Like That feature, as Drake then lists his friends SZA, Travis Scott, and 21 Savage as being better than Kendrick, as they all outsold him on their last albums. And even though that is technically true, for me, Kendrick is in the Big Three. I don't care if they outsold him, but I get what Drake is trying to say.
What's a prince to a king? He a son.
What's a prince to a king? He's a son. And this not only just went hard on the song, but the meaning behind it also does as well, as Drake is directly responding to Kendrick comparing himself to Prince, as Drake is taking on the comparison of Michael Jackson in this beef. And as many of you probably know, Michael Jackson's nickname is the King of Pop. So when Drake says what's a prince to a king, he's a son, he's saying that Prince will always be a prince, the son of the King of Pop and Michael Jackson, the same way Kendrick is a son to Drake, according to him.
Get more love in a city that you from.
In this line, Drake makes a statement that, the moment I heard it, I knew it was going to make Kendrick and the entire West Coast extremely mad. Kendrick, of course, is considered the leader of the West Coast rap scene right now, but more specifically, where he's from in Compton. It's his torch to carry, and Drake knows that, hence why he's saying this. Drake worked with The Game in 2014 on the song 100, where he dissed Kendrick in his lyrics and pulled up to record the music video in Kendrick's hometown of Compton. He also is referring to being friends and collaborating with fellow Compton native YG in the past. And by only saying 9 words in this line, Drake was starting something that, only time will tell, he might live to regret.
Numbers wise, I'm out of here, you not creeping up. Money wise, I'm out of here, you not sneaking up.
For a while now, everyone has been aware of Drake's numbers when it comes to music. Love him or hate him, this guy is a juggernaut when it comes to sales, streams, whatever you want to look at. And he's never shy about reminding people of that fact, just like he did to Kendrick here, saying he isn't close to him. At the time of this song coming out, Drake had nearly 80 million Spotify listeners compared to Kendrick's 50 million. And not to mention, Drake's It's All a Blur tour had just beat Kendrick's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers for highest grossing hip hop tour of all time. But Drake still wasn't done being petty, saying that if they're comparing money, Kendrick still isn't close to him yet again. It's reported Drake's net worth is more than double of Kendrick's, but I honestly don't trust these evaluations. They're never right. Although, I do think Drake is worth more than Kendrick. And when we look at the reactions to push-ups, people loved it. But while Drake was waiting for Kendrick to respond, he also put out the since deleted song, Tailor Made Freestyle, where he used the AI-generated voices of Kendrick Lamar's idols, Tupac and Snoop Dogg, to go after him. Sounded like a genius idea, right? Well, sort of. This led to a cease and desist from Tupac Shakur's estate for using his AI likeliness. And in those verses, Drake used the opportunity in a devious and disrespectful way to have these West Coast legends essentially talk to Kendrick.
Kendrick, we need ya, the West Coast savior.
Yes, yo, what the f you really got to do? Pass you the torch at the House of Blues.
As you can hear, Drake had AI Tupac and Snoop Dogg talking to Kendrick like a ghost, trying to hype up Kendrick to release a response so he can make the West Coast proud. And this is a big deal on a few levels. One being, of course Tupac and Snoop are West Coast legends, but they're also huge role models to Kendrick. Not to mention, the pressure I'm sure Kendrick faces to carry on the torch for West Coast rap. And that torch Snoop Dogg is talking about at the House of Blues is from when Snoop and other West Coast legends had this to say to Kendrick. And that's a big deal, because it's not just Drake making it up. Snoop actually said that, and of course, Kendrick leading the West Coast is a real thing. So Drake doing this isn't just to troll Kendrick that he hadn't released a response yet, but it's calculated in who and what they're saying.
You asked for the smoke, now I see you too busy for the smoke.
Cause right now it's looking like you writing out the game plan on how to lose.
Drake got even more disrespectful by having AI Tupac and Snoop essentially call Kendrick scared that he hadn't responded yet. And those two lines weren't the only things said that were disses towards Kendrick. You supposed to be the boogeyman, go do what you do, unless this is a moment that you tell us this not really you, which is essentially telling Kendrick you aren't who you say you are. But AI Snoop, in my opinion, went even harder at Kendrick. I know you've never been to jail before, orange jumpsuits and shower shoes, never taught nobody, never poked nobody, never did nothing to no one. It's the homies that empower you. Which is Drake dissing Kendrick by alluding to him not being a tough street person, and it's TDE and the others around him that make him feel bigger than he is, in comparison to Snoop and Pac, who have had different experiences. And after those AI verses, Drake came in with his own voice to accuse Kendrick of not responding to his original push-ups diss because he didn't want to interfere with the release of Taylor Swift's album. And to me, Drake doing all of this is both crazy and admirable, because he's acting so confident and disrespectful in his beef with Kendrick, it's almost like he's pretending it's Meek Mill. But little did Drake know what he had just started.
On day 17, he rose. He showed a pulse. Day 17, we got the Kendrick response.
We can do this right now on the camera, Crody. Line like pray for my city, he faking for likes and digital hugs. His daddy is
Enough! Enough! On the 17th day, he rose.
On April 30th, 2024, Kendrick officially responded with his first diss track, Euphoria. And it's safe to say, it caught everyone by shock. But one thing that didn't shock anyone was how crystal clear Kendrick made it. He really hates Drake. But before we even get into the disses towards Drake on this song, we have to look at the title. When we look at the cover art, Kendrick has the definition of the word euphoria, a feeling of well-being or elation. It also gives us an example of the word being used in a real sentence, which states, they had almost a week to recover from the euphoria of Tuesday's series-winning victory. This diss track was dropped on a Tuesday, an indication this record will give Kendrick a win in this beef. But that's not all. There's a popular show by HBO called Euphoria that Drake is a co-director of. And the plot of this show surrounds very mature events that kids in high school are going through and showcasing. With Drake having tons of salacious rumors about him surrounding liking girls of a certain age, you can see this as Kendrick alluding to that. It also could be Kendrick saying that Drake feels a sense of euphoria, a feeling of well-being or elation, while directing the show. And you can probably guess why he's saying that by now.
Them superpowers get neutralized, I can only watch in silence.
Kendrick begins the song with telling Drake he's losing his power. Aside from his beef with Pusha T, Drake has appeared to be this untouchable force in rap. He dominates the charts, he can do more than just rap. Some say he's a billionaire, he takes everyone's girl, allegedly, and overall, I think Kendrick is saying he's been untouchable. Untouchable until now. And that's because everyone is tired of Drake and want him to lose his powers. And Kendrick says he can only watch in silence because this was going to happen with or without him. As Future, Metro Boomin, The Weeknd, Rick Ross, Kanye, A$AP Rocky, and many others are all teaming up on him to neutralize his powers. But this was just the pre-game for what was to come.
Oh, a pathetic master manipulator, I can smell the tails on you now. You're not a rap artist, you're a scam artist with the hopes of being accepted.
In the beginning of this song, Kendrick was calling out Drake for being a liar and a pathetic master manipulator, which could be in response to numerous things, like Drake alluding to Kendrick having to split a lot of money with his label, and that same label forced him to do features and shows he didn't really want to do. Not to mention, alluding to Drake putting on a fake gangster persona so he can be accepted. Although, the biggest takeaway from the first part of this song is that Kendrick ends it off with a warning. But don't tell no lie about me, and I won't tell no truths about you. But as the song continues, Kendrick brings it up a level.
Somebody had told me that you got a ring. On God, I'm ready to double the wage. I'd rather do that than let a Canadian nigga make Pac turn in his grave.
Back in 2023, Drake bought Tupac's custom diamond and ruby ring through an auction for $1 million USD. And in these lines, Kendrick is saying that he would be willing to pay twice that for the ring, just to keep Drake from ruining Pac's legacy. As we know, Drake used Tupac's AI voice to diss Kendrick on his tailor-made freestyle. A huge insult to Kendrick, as he is a West Coast legend. And he has said how much of an inspiration Tupac is to him musically and through his social justice moments in the past.
We ain't gotta get personal, this a friendly fade, you should keep it that way. I know some shit about niggas that make Gunna wanna look like a saint.
Kendrick then references Gunna, who now has a reputation for being a snitch, deserved or not. And there could be two reasons for Kendrick saying this. One, Kendrick could have been alluding to Drake being robbed at gunpoint in 2009, as 2 of the 3 robbers were found, charged, and brought to court. It was rumored Drake had cooperated with law enforcement, but nothing concrete ever came of it to say Drake snitched.
And I made the decision to not put those guys away, to not go to trial. I didn't. Those men are walking free. I think I've even seen them out.
So it's not clear what Kendrick is referring to here, but publicly, this is the most information we have on Drake allegedly talking. The second meaning is that Kendrick said this as a warning, hinting that he knows crimes Drake has allegedly committed, and he was warning him that if this battle continues, he will rat on him far worse than what Gunna did to Young Thug.
How many more fairy tale stories about your life till we had enough? How many more black features till you finally feel that you're black enough?
Kendrick also went on to try and target Drake's credibility by alluding to Drake portraying himself as something he isn't and doing things to try and compensate for not having a certain element naturally.
Honestly, if you guys want to look in my eyes, you guys want to do something? That's what I thought. No, that's what I thought.
On the second line, Kendrick refers to Drake having a lot of features with black artists, and again using them to his advantage. But Kendrick isn't the only artist to say this to Drake. Joe Budden also went at Drake in 2016 for this, alluding to him using Gucci Mane for a feature right after he got out of jail.
Maybe you think nobody notices. Gucci wasn't home 2 seconds before you wrote his.
And the point that both Kendrick and Joe are insinuating is that Drake uses rappers with a gangster or tough image like Gucci to try and help boost his rep. But it's not just Kendrick and Joe saying this. Pusha T also said something similar in 2018 on the story of Adidon.
Confused, always felt you weren't black enough. Afraid to grow it cause your fro wouldn't nap enough.
And speaking of Pusha T, Kendrick decided to bring him into the mix as well. Yeah, screw all that Pushin' P. Let me see you Pusha T. You better off spinning again on him, you think about pushing me. In these lines, Kendrick is letting Drake know he's out of his weight class going against him lyrically. And to many, Pusha T is someone who gave Drake a loss on his rap record in their 2018 feud. So Kendrick is saying, you have a better chance trying to beat him again than coming after me.
You gon' make a bring back Puff, let me see if Chubbs really crashed something.
In this line, Kendrick decides to bring back a moment from Drake's memory lane, and that is when Diddy allegedly slapped Drake in 2014. The story apparently is that Diddy was trying to confront Drake at DJ Khaled's birthday party about the song 0 to 100.
He can't buy it. This is why he's fighting Drake. When you hit Drake, because he used the beat that he didn't actually use.
0 to 100.
Diddy originally had the beat to this song, and long story short, didn't end up wanting it and let Drake have it.
Well, I got a question about one beat in particular. I've always wanted to know. 0 to 100, okay?
0 to 100, real quick.
We know some of the backstory, but we don't really know. When you made that beat, who was that intended for?
I was actually in a session with Puff when I made it. So, he didn't,
Did he rap over it?
No, he didn't, but like, okay. I didn't think he got it at the time. It was a little bit, unorthodox at the time. So.
Yeah.
But what enraged Diddy was that the song 0 to 100 ended up becoming a huge hit. So Diddy wanted to talk to Drake at DJ Khaled's birthday party, and as Drake was leaving, Diddy ran up to him. So Drake got out of the truck and they were talking, when Diddy apparently said, "Handle your business and you'll never disrespect me again." And then it happened. So when Kendrick says you're gonna make me bring back Puff, that could be why. He then goes on to reference Chubbs, Drake's longtime friend and former bodyguard. So he's essentially egging him on in the song that he didn't protect Drake and to see if he really is as tough as he's made out to be.
My first one, like my last one, this a classic, you don't have one.
Kendrick then decides to once again hit Drake with a diss that I think could really be hurtful deep down to Drake. And that is saying that Kendrick's last album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, is a classic, just like his first album, Good Kid, Mad City, which is a direct response to Drake saying on push-ups that Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers didn't do very well. Kendrick then tells Drake he doesn't have a classic album, and if you're a hip-hop fan, you know this is actually something that's been brought up plenty of times.
Let your core audience stomach that, didn't tell them where you get your abs from.
Kendrick then decides to continue Rick Ross's BBL Drizzy movement by alleging Drake has fake abs. Does Drake actually have fake abs? I honestly can't tell, but regardless, it's still a funny shot from Kendrick alleging Drake got work done. He also uses the word stomach as a double entendre. Your abs are located on your stomach, but the word stomach can also be used in a sentence as another way to register or understand something. So Kendrick is saying let your core audience stomach that, as in take in, you never told them where you got your abs from. But the most shocking part of this song is what Kendrick had to say next.
Surprise, you wanted that feature request, you know that we got to address.
Kendrick Lamar revealed that Drake reached out to him for a feature request, obviously sometime before the Like That verse came out, and it's being speculated that the possible song Drake asked Kendrick to be on was First Person Shooter with him and J. Cole.
I now have good authority to say that allegedly Drake hit up Kendrick, and First Person Shooter should have been a song with Drake, Cole, and Kendrick.
And throughout this video, we touched on Drake possibly trying to make peace, and it seems like one of them was probably a real attempt. Either way, Kendrick will obviously never give in because he wants to be at the top and doesn't need Drake on his side. But Kendrick, he kept going on to make it abundantly clear he hates Drake, as he decided to hit Drake where it really hurts, his family.
Oh shit, I got a son to raise, but I can see you don't know nothing about that.
This diss stems from all the way back in 2018 when Drake was beefing with Pusha T and he exposed Drake was allegedly hiding a son.
You are hiding a child, let that boy come home.
Now if you remember this era, you know how big of a deal this really was and how much Pusha T's diss track, The Story of Adidon, impacted Drake, as it's a beef many would consider a Drake loss. And Kendrick, well, he's saying he has to raise his son, but Drake can't teach him anything since he isn't exactly father of the year.
I be at New Hall King eating fried rice with a dip sauce and a blammy, Crody.
Now if you remember us talking about Drake's 2009 robbery a couple minutes ago, where he was stuck up outside a restaurant and accused of snitching, this line on the song is possibly in relation to that. It's been rumored Toronto rapper Sizzlack was the robber who got away, as there were 3 total and only 2 charged. Now I'm not saying that, it's not proven, but for argument's sake and for the theory, we're gonna go with this alleged claim. And if this was Kendrick's intent, he is getting extremely deep with this line. Sizzlack passed away in 2016. In the last music video he recorded, Realest in the Six, he was at this New Ho King restaurant Kendrick mentions in his lyrics. And on a separate note, it's possible this song was actually a diss towards Drake.
Now, some people believe this song was a diss song to Drake, but it wasn't only Drake.
But if we follow this trail, after mentioning the restaurant, Kendrick says he's eating fried rice with a dip sauce and blammy. And this is where it gets interesting, so pay attention. Sizzlack was at New Ho King, his last music video before passing, with his dip sauce, in other words, he dipped from the robbery, and with a blammy, another word for a gun, which the robbers allegedly held as they stole from Drake. So in summary, Kendrick was possibly alluding to Sizzlack's passing at New Ho King restaurant, where he filmed his last music video, which was a diss song towards Drake, and him getting away with robbing Drake at gunpoint. This is pretty crazy, but only Kendrick will know for sure what the intent was behind this line.
Whoever that with them is in the industry too. If you take it there, I'm taking it further. Psst, that's something you don't want to do.
Kendrick Lamar lets everyone know that if you're on Team Drake, you're going against Team Kendrick. And if Drake keeps getting disrespectful and pushing the boundaries, it's something he's going to regret. So the question is, would Drake listen?
On the 17th day he rose, he dropped Euphoria, and he literally did back-to-back on day 3 of us waiting for Aubrey. This is what he dropped. It's called 616 in LA.
Kendrick, bro, you gotta stop, buddy. Man, bro, we got lives, Kendrick. We ain't got, bro.
After only a few days of Euphoria being released, Kendrick dropped his second diss track in a row in 616 in LA. And off the rip, Kendrick is following up on his previous lyrics from Euphoria, where he said he liked Drake's back-to-back song.
Back to back, I like that record. I'ma get back to that for the record.
And as we know, Back to Back was the second diss track in a row Drake used to defeat Meek Mill from their beef in 2015. So Kendrick, he decided to follow suit. But starting with the title in 616 in LA, Kendrick is playing off Drake's timestamp songs, which in my opinion are all bangers. But the title of this song has a lot of potential meanings, including Tupac's birthday, it was Father's Day on June 16th, 2024, and the show Drake executive produced called Euphoria debuted on June 16th. But it appears that the most likely link is that this is the day Drake and Kendrick first met, and the first time Kendrick Lamar performed in Toronto. Because on November 17th, 2011, Kendrick did an interview with XXL Magazine, and he said, "I did a show in Toronto on June 16th, my first show in Toronto. I think it was the same night we was going back to the hotel, and he hit my phone. I guess he had gotten the word that I was in town. He was there for the night working for the album, and he just said he wanted to meet up. We met up, chilled out, got to vibe, see where each other was at. And the first time Drake and Kendrick ever worked together was on a song called Buried Alive off of Drake's album Take Care. And on this song, Kendrick's verse is talking about this day he met Drake and what came from it. He goes on to mention Drake brought him to a fancy spot in Toronto where nobody could see them and being dropped off there in Drake's Mercedes. And to paint the picture of this moment for Kendrick, He compared it to living in the Matrix and choosing the red pill, which is his new reality of riches from the rap world. But he goes on to say they talked about the industry and women. And after getting a small taste of this celebrity life, Kendrick isn't sure if that's the type of life he wants to live for himself going forward.
Looking in the mirror, I'm embarrassed.
Kendrick also says on the song that he knows he's becoming the person that he doesn't want to be, and that is a mainstream rapper. When he looks in the mirror, he's embarrassed of himself and what he is becoming, because he is fearful that it will make him a worse person, which he also alludes to when he says this.
Then he said that he was the same age as myself, and it didn't help because it made me even more rude and impatient. So blame it on Mr. OVOXO.
And what Kendrick is saying is that Drake is showing him this rich lifestyle that he has, and how he pointed out they are very close in age. And doing this made Kendrick feel like he hadn't done enough in his career in comparison, which made him hunger for the money and fame, pushing him away from the true version of himself. He then blames this on Drake, Mr. OVOXO, for giving him a taste of the life and the comparison. But Kendrick also realizes that if he wants to grow as an artist, these things are going to happen, and he has to let some things go that his original self doesn't like. But the ending of this song is what takes us to today. The reason why the highlight was when he said, "You belong to the people when you're outside, so dig a shovel full of money, full of power, full of fame, and bury yourself alive. Then I died." In the same XXL interview from 2011, Kendrick is saying that the person he is talking to in these lines is Drake. At the end of that verse, that's him in the conversation. Him telling me that you have to accept this lifestyle because of all that will come, and it's up to you how far you're going to go with it, or how much you're going to let it in. Me acknowledging that when I say that I died, it leaves it hanging on the audience to try and figure out where I would go with it. Will I let it taint me or destroy me, or will I know how to deal with it? And Drake is warning him of what comes with this rapper lifestyle when it comes to the fame, money, power, and women, as there will be so much of it, it will bury you alive. Drake was essentially telling Kendrick that he's not going to fall to the temptation that he has in front of him, and neither should he, which Kendrick reaffirmed in the same interview by saying, "I felt like he was in a space now where vanity is everywhere, and he has his hands on every bit of it, and he's trying to escape that, but at the same time, not being in denial of it." Drake seemed to be aware of all this temptation and was controlling it, but by Kendrick referencing this 13 years later, he's essentially telling Drake, look how you turned out. You failed and fell for all that temptation that you tried to warn me about. As Drake lives this enhanced celebrity lifestyle, and Kendrick, he stayed more true to his path by not everything being about fame, which he continues to rub in Drake's face by telling him on the last diss track of Euphoria.
I'm allergic to the lame, only you like being famous.
And to me, even though Drake has faced a lot of disses and allegations in his life, and I mean a lot, I feel something like this could be a sneaky dig he wasn't expecting, and might get him thinking about the life he has lived since that moment 13 years ago. But Drake seemed to catch this diss pretty quickly, as only 3 days later, he released part 2 of Buried Alive, and he literally mocks Kendrick's whole verse and disses him throughout the song.
If you was in a pine box, if you in a pine box, I would shovel dirt on top. I play this record on repeat. You always been to me.
But as we get into the song, Kendrick seemingly tried to spook Drake.
Are you finally ready to play? Have you ever, let's see, have you ever thought that OVO is working for me?
And this line is crazy, because Kendrick is alluding that there's a mole in the OVO camp, which for Drake, if he does have things to hide, not saying he does, but if he does, would definitely be scary.
Fake bully, I hate bullies. You must be a terrible person. Everyone inside your team is whispering that you deserve it.
Kendrick then goes on to call Drake a terrible person, who everyone, including Drake's friends, knows whatever is bad that is coming to him is deserved. Kendrick really is trying to go psychological with these disses, because if this is true or not, it still must be getting Drake thinking, what if?
Can't Tootsie slide up out of this one, it's just gonna resurface.
Kendrick then makes reference to Drake's viral song, Tootsie Slide from 2020, that had the whole world singing, right foot up, left foot slide. And what Kendrick is saying in this line is that after I'm done with you in this rap beef, you aren't going to be able to just go make a hit song and have everyone forget all about what I did to you. It's just going to resurface and never go away. It was fun until you started putting money in the streets, then lost money because they came back with no receipts. And when I read these lines, it appears that Kendrick is alluding to Drake trying to pay people to find dirt on him. And at this point, there is no proof of this, but I wouldn't be surprised. These guys are going toe to toe, and money is just a small resource to them. It was also rumored Drake had $100K in the streets for someone who could bring him information on Pusha T, the rapper he was feuding with in 2018. But in saying that, Kendrick says Drake lost his money because there was nothing to be found. But we will soon see if that stays true.
I'm sorry that I live a boring life. I love peace, but war ready if the world is ready to see you bleed.
Kendrick flat out tells us that he lives a boring life and he just wants peace. Another connection back to the title of this song and the day he first met Drake, referring to him staying out of the celebrity lifestyle. But in saying that, Kendrick is ready to take down Drake if that's what the world wants. And by judging how many people have turned on Drake,
you know, everybody is very, very excited about the elimination of Drake.
The world might be ready for Kendrick to do that.
If you were street smart, then you would have caught that your entourage is only to hustle you.
Since Drake came in the game, people have been getting at him for not being from the streets. As we know, traditionally rappers come from that element, but with Kanye West breaking that mold, Drake found a lane. But that lane isn't exempt from people saying that he's not tough or street smart. Just like what Kendrick is saying here in regards to Drake being oblivious, his entourage is only with him for his money. And to me, this is probably true to an extent, but Drake wouldn't be the only rapper to lose his entourage if he lost his money. Fat Joe did this on purpose and lost almost everyone entirely.
I would have 50 guys with me. We all had the same Cadillac truck. We all had chains. Everybody go to jail. I bail them out. I pay for the lawyer. I this, that. Call everybody. All 50 of the guys come. And I say, yo, listen, man, it ain't the same. I ain't got it. And I had it. Out of the 50 guys that was there, only 6 of them said, yo, if you dead broke, I'll be with you, man, no matter what, every day.
But Kendrick, he goes on to say that it's not just about the money. 100 people that he got on salary, and 20 of them want you as a casualty, and one of them is actually next to you. Which would mean someone extremely close to Drake wants to see him gone, and true or not, has to have Drake second guessing. And if we do the math on this, that's a lot of people when you really think of it. 20% of his crew. That must have Drake wonder if there's anything actually to it.
But your reality can't hide behind Wi-Fi. Your little means is losing steam. They figured you out.
Drake has never been shy about using the internet in his beefs. And what I think Kendrick is referencing here is that Drake decided to troll Kendrick regarding what he said in his last diss track, Euphoria.
I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress.
He posted a clip from the 1999 film, 10 Things I Hate About You, as a response to these lines.
I hate the way you talk to me. I hate the way you drive my car. I hate it when you stare.
Drake also did the same thing with Metro Boomin and calling him Little Drummer Boy. But Kendrick is essentially saying, the gig is up. People aren't finding these names funny anymore because they're realizing Drake is actually losing, and it doesn't hold the same weight as when they thought he was winning.
The first opinions is not convincing. I need a new route.
One common theme that I've seen in the media constantly regarding this beef is that DJ Academics is biased for Drake or literally on the OVO payroll. To me, I think he's just a fan of Drake, maybe gets a little carried away sometimes, which he's admitted, but I'm not ready to say he's working for Drake. But when Kendrick is saying the forced opinions is not convincing, y'all need a new route, to me, that's what he's referencing. There are multiple examples of what Kendrick could be talking about, but one I think he is focusing on is when Academics said Rick Ross had a better diss track than Kendrick's. Which, hey, everyone can have an opinion, but I get what Kendrick is referring to here.
It's time that you look around on who's around you. Before you figure that you're not alone, ask what Mike would do.
To end this song, Kendrick has one of the most complex and interesting finishing lines in the whole beef, in my opinion. Before you figure out that you're not alone, ask what Mike would do. As we know, Drake has compared himself and reflected to Michael Jackson numerous times in this beef. But the point of this line gets deep, so stay with me. Throughout the song, Kendrick tells Drake he has to watch his back, and there are moles in his camp, and people who want to see him gone. After investigating Michael Jackson's passing, it was ruled a homicide by the Los Angeles County coroner, who found a lethal mix of medication in Jackson's system during his autopsy. Dr. Conrad Murray, Jackson's personal doctor, was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter for the circumstances leading to Jackson's passing. So when we look back at the lyrics, a couple of things come up. First, Drake saying "you're not alone" is a double entendre. He is stating the obvious in that Drake is not alone, and far from it actually, with his big entourage. And Kendrick is also referencing Michael Jackson's song "You're Not Alone," which was actually produced by R. Kelly. He then proceeds to ask the question, what would Mike do? Alluding to Drake and essentially telling him, look what happened to him, maybe the same will happen to you if you don't get rid of the people around you. Really, really crazy bars from Kendrick, and if you're a Drake fan, you gotta admit it. But after 616 in LA dropped, and everyone in hip hop had time to digest, people got curious. Where was Drake's response? But little did they know what type of response Drake was going to give.
Yo! Drake just text me! Drake has just texted me. Stay on stream. Family matters.
On the evening of May 3rd, 2024, Drake and Kendrick Lamar's beef took a dark turn. Drake dropped his red button diss track Family Matters, and this is a night hip-hop fans will be telling their kids where they were and when it happened, because it will be remembered in hip-hop history forever. On this song, Drake had a lot to say, and he wasn't afraid of trying to get too personal with Kendrick Lamar. He included a replica of the famous minivan from Kendrick's album Good Kid, Mad City in his music video, and had it transported across Toronto to a junkyard where it was seemingly destroyed. And this symbolism was Drake trying to portray what was in store for Kendrick on this track.
Always rapping like you about to get the slaves free. You just acting like an activist, it's make believe.
Drake comes out and says that he thinks Kendrick is a fake activist. Most notably, Kendrick Lamar's album To Pimp a Butterfly was considered by many to be a display of the African American experience, especially as it referenced police brutality. Kendrick Lamar also attended a Black Lives Matter protest in 2020 in his hometown of Compton, California. But why does Drake think Kendrick is a fake activist? He goes on to say Kendrick never gave any money back to his hometown of Compton, while also referencing Kendrick's song Money Trees. But in saying that, there is proof online regarding Kendrick donating money and doing things to help out where he is from. If I had to guess, Drake is saying Kendrick hasn't done enough for how much he has gained.
You the black messiah wiping up a mixed queen.
In this line, Drake references Kendrick calling him out for trying to be more cultured.
How many more black features till you finally feel that you're black enough?
We don't wanna hear you say no more. Stop.
And he does this by referencing Kendrick's fiancée, Whitney Alford, and pointing out that she is also light-skinned, just like Drake. And to me, the reason for Drake saying this is to make Kendrick seem like a hypocrite. When he says Kendrick is the Black Messiah, he is referring to Kendrick being looked at as a black activist and leader in the culture. So Drake is saying, me looking this way is a problem, but your fiancé and mother to your kids is also light-skinned just like me, and you have nothing to say about that. And I know what people are going to say. Kendrick is referring to it in a cultural way, as in Drake didn't grow up like Kendrick or other rappers, so he acts in a way that is fake. And Kendrick isn't just saying these things to Drake because of his skin color, but this is Drake's point of view, and I think he takes Kendrick saying these things to him in the same way Rick Ross was talking to him.
I'm ready, white boy. I know you got your Dockers on with no underwear, white boy.
As they are dissing Drake for not having the toughest upbringing and consider him more like his mom's side since he grew up in that environment.
Your baby mama cash was always screaming, save me. You did it dirty all your life, you trying to make peace.
And to everyone's surprise, just kidding, Drake continues to bring up Kendrick's fiancée Whitney Alford, this time referencing her Instagram posts where she seemed to be going through a hard time. And Drake, he puts the blame all on Kendrick, saying he mistreated her the entire time. And Kendrick is now trying to make peace with that. And if we look at Kendrick's last album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Kendrick admitted to having an addiction and cheating.
Insecurities that I project sleeping with other women. Whitney's hurt, the pure soul I know.
And when you look at these lyrics and what Drake is implying, he wasn't afraid of getting dark and disrespectful. But the crazy part is, it was only going to get darker.
I heard that one of them little kids might be day free.
In this line, Drake is alleging one of Kendrick's kids might actually be his friend Dave Freeze. Again, this is strictly speculation and a rumor, as we have no proof, but Dave Freeze and Kendrick Lamar have been friends since childhood, and even created the label and company PG Lang together. And if we look at it from afar, Kendrick has 2 kids, a son and a daughter, who he had with his fiancée Whitney Alford. Nonetheless, a seriously crazy allegation from Drake I didn't expect to hear. But it's so crazy, it makes you think, what did Drake hear that made him confident enough to say this in his song?
Hey, Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now.
As the years have gone by, Drake and Kendrick's Grammy reputations are at the total opposite of the spectrum. Kendrick seems to love going, as he wins a lot, totaling 17 Grammy wins, and Drake, well, he has 5, as well as telling people the Grammys aren't important. He made an Instagram story saying the awards are picked by a select few who we don't know, and overall, the show doesn't dictate anything in hip-hop. And in saying that, he is alluding to Kendrick being a media favorite and winning these awards just off his name, not in deserving the actual award. Definitely an interesting discussion, and Drake isn't the only rapper in the game saying that the Grammys are BS.
And I said, after that point in time, I was like, don't ever ask me to come here again. Please do not ask me.
But with this song continuing, Drake was about to bring this beef to the darkest place it's been.
So when you put your hands on your girl, is it self-defense cause she bigger than you?
Drake alludes Kendrick got into a DV situation with his fiancée Whitney, and to many, this was quite the surprise. But as of now, it's just an allegation as there's no proof of this happening. But Drake's intended diss is to make fun of Kendrick for being shorter than his fiancée, hence the self-defense line. But Drake wasn't done speculating just yet, and also alluded to something else crazy between Kendrick Lamar and his fiancée. Why did you move to New York? Is it cause you live in that bachelor life? Drake alleges Kendrick Lamar moved to New York to pursue women freely, without Whitney or his kids around. And it is true. Kendrick bought an apartment in New York in 2023 for $8.6 million. Yeah, I'm pocket watching. But we can't confirm it's for what Drake is implying. Kendrick simply could have been adding to his real estate portfolio, and obviously a place in New York is popular on someone's list if they have that kind of money. And speaking of money, that's that money Drake thinks Kendrick should have used on a wedding with his fiancée by now.
Proposed in 2015, but don't want to make her your actual wife. I'm guessing this wedding ain't happening right, cause we know the girls that you actually like.
And Drake is saying this because Kendrick and his fiancée Whitney have been engaged since 2015. And he's asking the question, why hasn't the knot been tied yet? To Drake, it seems like he's alleging in these lyrics that it's because Kendrick is cheating, which Kendrick talked about on his album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers in 2022. And in the music video for this song, Drake has 2 cakes with icing saying happy co-parenting and happy divorce, in reference to the allegations regarding them never getting married. But Drake kept it going, making another suggestion as to why this wedding hasn't happened yet. And that's because he says he knows the girls that Kendrick actually likes. So given the context, and Drake alluding to Kendrick liking white women earlier in this song,
And hit vanilla cream to help out with your self-esteem.
He might be suggesting that the wedding is never going to happen because Whitney isn't the type of girl Kendrick actually likes.
The darkest secrets are coming to light. It's all on your face like what happened to Mike.
Drake then continues on to say that all of Kendrick's dark secrets are coming out. He does this by referencing Michael Jackson, this time not towards himself, but to Kendrick. Michael Jackson had an autoimmune disease called vitiligo, which presents white patches onto the skin. Drake is referring to this to say, it's all in your face like what happened to Mike, because your dark secrets are going to come to light. AKA, all of your secrets are getting exposed, and everyone is going to see it right on your face, like what they saw happen to Mike's.
They hired a crisis management team to clean up the fact that you beat on your queen.
Now near the end of the song, Drake gives quite the delivery, again alleging that there was a DV dispute between Kendrick and his fiancée Whitney, and he claims that Kendrick's crisis management team got rid of the evidence of this ever happening. And speaking of evidence, there isn't any proof of this happening, but there are rumors of what happened that I won't get into. Rumors that Kendrick did deny any wrongdoing of regarding this alleged incident.
other certain things too now. There was a shocking story about you, and I was like, there's no way this is true.
Yeah.
When they said you were in Vegas and you hit some guy bloody and you did something to some female.
Yeah.
And they said they had evidence and all of this, and then I never heard anything about it again.
Yeah, because it's foolishness. That's the most ignorant stuff I've ever heard made up on
I was like, Kendrick did that? I doubt it.
And that's all we know. Kendrick denied anything ever happening, and there isn't proof of anything like this taking place.
In the picture you painted ain't what it seemed.
As for the final line of the song, Drake says that this reputation Kendrick has tried to showcase for himself, including not wanting to be famous, as well as being a real family man, isn't exactly what it seems, as there are things he's hiding. And when we look back at Family Matters, this was Drake's red button diss track. This was his big move, and lyrically, many think it was a strong diss track, and his best of the series. But I guarantee you, nobody was expecting what came next.
Yo, I just looked. Kendrick dropped 2. Oh my God, this is crazy. This is crazy. Oh my God, it's going down. No fucking way. What Kendrick say? Kendrick dropped immediately.
Let me be honest. It takes a man to be a man. Your dad is not responsible.
Man, what the is going on right now, bro? Drake just dropped on YouTube, and he dropped a little preview snippet on Instagram, and you're telling me that Kendrick dropped again?
Damn, white boy. Kendrick done bust you in the head before y'all even finished the publishing splits.
Did he say Drake should die? Drake, rapping is done. You got a box.
However lit you thought you was about to be with all that it's dark.
Only 20 minutes later, Kendrick Lamar stepped on Drake's release and dropped his diss track, Meet the Grams. From the start, we have to look at what Kendrick did with the original song cover. If we look at this photo closely, we see a few things. A shirt, a medication and prescription for Ozempic with Drake's name on it, an MMG glove, and a receipt. And at first, according to academics, these items were allegedly in Drake's dad's suitcase that was stolen from him.
Then I'm also hearing the cover art. This cover art contains things that is from Drake's pop's suitcase. So Drake's pop's suitcase had these things in it. Don't know how he got a hold of it. Don't know how this happened to get in Kendrick's hand, but apparently Kendrick Lamar must have got a hold of Drake's dad's suitcase. So we're talking about Dennis Graham. Wow.
But as time went on, academics changed his take on this.
Here's the facts. Drake has never told me that the items that was on Kendrick Lamar's album cover was gotten from anywhere. But I did hear from people who were in the know. And I guess maybe they gave me bad information, because I remember I told you guys that I heard this came from Dennis Graham's suitcase, allegedly in Jamaica, that he supposedly lost or got stolen. Okay?
And even though it's still not 100% clear, it seems that a former hotel employee at the Mark Hotel was actually the one to find these items, as it appears Drake left them behind during his stay. And this guy was going crazy on Twitter, posting spooky videos on an old phone, using a computer that's even older, all while playing Meet the Grams with a nighttime skyline. Although now it seems like this guy is just trying to make a quick buck and sell off Drake's goods, it's still unclear exactly how and when Kendrick got his hands on them. And it's crazy because all of this stuff happened and we still have to talk about the main points of the song. So get ready.
Dear Adonis, I'm sorry that that man is your father. Let me be honest. It takes a man to be a man. Your dad is not responsive.
To start, Kendrick Lamar openly talks about Drake's son Adonis, staying true to the title of the song, Meet the Grams. And to me, this is definitely one of the craziest opening lines in a diss track that we've seen. And he essentially tells him that Drake isn't a real man and he's sorry that Drake is his dad. But he wasn't done there. Going on to say things like, I'm sorry that you gotta grow up and then stand behind him. Life is hard. I know the challenge is always gonna beat us home. Sometimes our parents make mistakes that affect us until we're grown. And you're a good kid that need good leadership. Let me be your mentor since your daddy don't teach you. Absolutely crazy from Kendrick, and this is the level of their hate on full display. And while Kendrick is talking to Adonis, he's also talking to Drake at the same time, as he goes on to warn Adonis some more.
Never code switch, whether right or wrong. You're a black man, even if it don't benefit your goals. Do some push-ups, get some discipline.
In these lines, Kendrick says to never switch codes as a black man, even if it benefits your goals, which is Kendrick insinuating Drake only wants to be black when it's convenient for him. So in other words, he is calling him a culture vulture and acting a certain way that isn't authentic to who he really is. He also uses a play on words with using push-ups, the title of Drake's diss track, and the narrative of Drake making fun of Kendrick Lamar for doing them. Not to mention, he uses this as a teaching moment for Adonis, citing that doing push-ups will build discipline. Discipline his dad doesn't have, alleging he resorts to the easy options.
Don't cut them corners like your daddy did, or those did. Don't pay to play with them Brazilians, get a gym membership.
Drake has been accused of losing weight the unnatural way, as well as getting work done to make his appearance better, including his nose and abs. And because of this, he's been called BBL Drizzy by his other enemies Rick Ross and Metro Boomin.
BBL Drizzy called his mommy on me. Boy, you had 25% body fat with a carved out 6-piece. Stop. We know what time it is. That costs 40 bands. Stop.
But this is still so much more than just dissing. Kendrick is using this as a play on words and giving Adonis life lessons, but it's at the expense of his dad, attempting to make him look like a bad role model and fake person.
Don't be ashamed about who you with, that's how he treats your moms.
He then tells Adonis to not be ashamed of who he is with when he's older, and references his mom Sophie. And the reason Kendrick is mentioning Adonis' mom is because it's alleged Drake hid both Adonis and his baby mama Sophie from the public. That was until it was exposed by Pusha T in 2018 on the diss track, The Story of Adidon. And another possibility to add, and again, just a possibility, we're not shaming anyone, is Kendrick could be alluding to Drake not being the proudest of his baby mama's past in the industry.
Live at Starless, you know what I'm saying? Side talk though, you know what time it is, man. We're in here, man. I'm wearing Pac's ring. They got my baby mom on the wall over there. Get the gal them to come give you guys a little, you know what I'm saying?
But as we continue, the next thing Kendrick Lamar says was something he didn't expect most people to catch. So pay attention.
Don't have a kid to hide again, be sure. 5% will comprehend, but 95 is lost.
When Kendrick says don't have a kid to hide a kid, he's talking about the Adonis situation, but then he ends it off with again, be sure. So if we read that out in full, don't have a kid to hide a kid again, be sure, 5% will comprehend, but 95 is lost. To me, Kendrick is alluding Drake is hiding another child, and he says 5% will understand what he is saying, and the other 95% will be lost. And there are other theories on what Kendrick is saying here, but as we go along in this song, remember this line. But after addressing Adonis, Kendrick moved on to someone else in Drake's family, his mom. Dear Sandra, your son got some habits. I hope you don't undermine them, especially with all the girls that's hurt inside this climate. You're a woman, so you know how it feels to be in alignment with emotion, hoping a man can see you and not be blinded. And in these lines, Kendrick Lamar is saying to Drake's mom, your son mistreats and uses women, and you need to hold him accountable for these bad things. But more importantly, as a woman, you should have an issue with your son viewing them in a misogynistic light. And to me, I still can't believe Kendrick is doing this with Drake's family, but I should believe it, cause his dad is up next.
Dear Dennis, you gave birth to a master manipulator. Even using you to prove who he is a huge favor.
As we know, Dennis Graham is Drake's dad. Growing up, Drake and his dad weren't close, and most times, Dennis is labeled as never being around, and Drake himself has even referenced it in his music.
And my father living in Memphis, now he can't come this way. Over some minor charges and child support that just wasn't paid.
Now some of you might remember this story from a few years ago. I actually kind of forgot about it. But Dennis was asked by Nick Cannon about this situation after he had expressed he wasn't close growing up with his father either. But Dennis, he shocked everyone with his answer.
I have always been with Drake. Talk to him, if not every day, every other day.
Wow.
I said, Drake, why are you saying all of this different stuff about me, man? Like, this is not cool. And he goes, Dad, it sells records.
And Drake actually ended up responding to this with an Instagram story. And what it says is that his dad is lying and he's hurt by the lies that continue to happen. So when Kendrick calls Drake a master manipulator, he is referring to him manipulating his childhood upbringing with his dad to seem like he struggled more than he actually did. Again, Drake denied what his dad said and claims the lies hurt him. I'm just telling you what I think Kendrick's angle is. You can decide for yourself what to believe. In the second line, Kendrick says even using you to prove who he is a huge favor. Again, referring to Drake using his dad's absence to appear like he struggled more than he might have actually did. But also, Kendrick could be alluding to Drake always having him around more to seem more cultured. The same angle Pusha T took in his diss track, The Story of Adidon. But Kendrick, he still wasn't done talking to Drake's parents, and this is the turning point in the song where things begin to take a dark turn. You raised a horrible person. The nerve of you, Dennis. Sandra, sit down. What I'm about to say is heavy. Now listen. Your son's a sick man with sick thoughts. I think people like him should go. Him and Weinstein should get messed up in a cell for the rest of their life. Kendrick starts out by giving Dennis Graham some blame and his son Drake becoming a horrible person. But it really gets dark when Kendrick addresses both Dennis and Sandra and telling them their son is a terrible twisted person who deserves to be gone. Not to mention, saying he belongs in a prison cell with Harvey Weinstein, a convicted offender. So Kendrick is alluding to Drake being involved in some shady activities.
He got offenders on OVO that he keep on a monthly allowance.
In this line, Kendrick is alluding to Drake paying his former security guard and friend, Baka Not Nice. Baka Not Nice was charged with serious offenses in 2015, although ultimately, 2 out of the 3 were dropped, aside from assault. But Kendrick, he continued to apply pressure to this by continuing on saying, I've been in this industry 12 years. I'ma tell y'all one little secret. It's some weird stuff going on, and some of these artists be here to police it. They be streamlining victims all inside of their home and calling them tender, then leak videos of themselves to further push their agendas. If we read between the lines here, Kendrick is implying that a lot of shady things are going on behind the scenes with celebrities and rappers, but more specifically, Drake and OVO. When Kendrick says they be streamlining victims all inside of their home and calling them tender, he is referring to a viral TikTok about Drake allegedly having a private Tinder.
And this information came to me from one of the crew members on Drake's tour. This was the guy who did all the tech stuff. And he told me that Drake has an employee whose job is to go around town looking for super hot girls. He finds the girls and then he interviews them. And out of all the girls he interviews, he picks the one that he thinks is the best. Then he drives her to Drake's place. Drake has sex with her and then he drives her home. So basically, Drake has his own private Tinder.
Now to dive even deeper in regards to what Kendrick is talking about, he is referring to what goes on inside the house that is allegedly disturbing. He then finishes the line by saying Drake leaked an explicit video of himself to promote the shady things that go on at his house. But Kendrick, he still wasn't done with the accusations, and the levels were only getting higher.
Hey, Lil Bron, keep the family away. Hey, Curry, keep the family away. To anybody that embody the love for their kids, keep the family away.
And when you see these lines, all you can really say is wow. Kendrick is really telling people to keep their families away from Drake, as he is alleging Drake is into younger women. He does this by flat out telling LeBron and Steph Curry to keep their families away. Kendrick could be doing this to try and warn people of these allegations so they don't accidentally get tied into it, as Drake is known friends with LeBron and Steph. But it's likely, given the angle he's taking, it's because both LeBron and Steph have daughters. Allegations and rumors have gone on for years that Drake is into younger women. Whether it's meeting at his shows or just meeting in the industry, people have alleged Drake is into younger women, but never on as big of a stage as Kendrick did on this song or what's still to come in this beef. But as the third verse in this song began, Kendrick dropped another allegation nobody expected to hear.
Dear baby girl, I'm sorry that your father not active inside your world.
Kendrick alleged that Drake has another child that he is ignoring. He goes on to say things like Drake doesn't commit to much besides music, and he's a narcissist and misogynist that tries to ruin families instead of taking care of his own. So we have to ask the question, does Drake actually have a hidden daughter? Drake immediately responded to this on Instagram, denying the whole thing. But Kendrick dropped some hints, including that the girl's name is Eternity. And with the power of the internet, this girl was found pretty quickly. But just as fast as she was found, the Instagram of Drake's alleged hidden daughter also completely denied this in their comment section. Drake also even doubled down and was so adamant he doesn't have another child, he apparently told academics if it comes out that he actually does, he will quit what he's doing and come work for him.
Hey, I'll take it one further. Drake hit me and told me, he said, Ak, if you or anybody could find proof I have an 11-year-old daughter, I'll quit rapping and I'll come work for you. And I would love for Drake to work for me.
TMZ also claims Drake hiding a child was fabricated. So it's safe to say Drake probably doesn't have another child. I'm just going to assume Drake wouldn't be this adamant about hiding a daughter, because if it comes out that he does for real, it will hurt his career a lot in my opinion. Now as we get to the fourth verse, and the final target of the Graham family on Kendrick's list, he addresses Drake head on.
You got gambling problems, drinking problems, pill popping and spending problems.
Kendrick comes out full force and begins by saying some of the problems Drake has. To start, he claims he has gambling, substance abuse, and spending problems. Although there is no direct proof of Drake having these issues, it's well documented Drake loves the celebrity lifestyle and has partnerships in regards to gambling. As for the substance abuse Kendrick mentioned, he could be referring to the Ozempic from the original cover photo. And some of you might be thinking Kendrick is going hard at Drake, but I gotta tell you, these may have been the nicest things Kendrick had to say.
I try to empathize with you, cause I know that you ain't been through nothing. Crave entitlement, but wanna be like so bad that it's puzzling.
Kendrick tries to get more into the psychological game by telling Drake essentially that it's hard to believe you have so many problems because you haven't been through anything in life. He didn't grow up rich, but he did have acting opportunities and still lived in a much nicer place than Kendrick, who grew up in Section 8 government subsidized housing, and living there prompted Kendrick to have regular experiences with poverty, gangs, and substance abuse, which throughout his career he's expressed in his music.
Other identities on the fence, don't know which family will love you. The skin that you living in is compromised and personas.
Kendrick then continues on the psychological route, this time referencing Drake's identity or lack thereof. Both Kendrick and Pusha T have alluded to Drake not feeling cultured enough and trying to compensate for that.
How many more fairy tale stories about your life till we had enough? How many more black features till you finally feel that you're black enough? Confused, always felt you weren't black enough. Afraid to grow it cause your fro wouldn't nap enough.
Drake grew up and was raised by his mom, who is Caucasian and has a Jewish background, and later on became closer with his dad's side of the family, who are African American. So in essence, he is a mix of both, and Kendrick is alluding he might not fit in the same as if he were one or the other. Kendrick then continues on a similar path by saying in the next line, the skin that you're living in is compromised in personas. And he uses the skin that you're living in as a play on words, as throughout Drake's career, he has had so many personas, not only as an artist, but as a person. As an artist, the heartbroken rapper, the heartbreaker rapper, pop singer, the lyricist with all of his subliminals, bit of a gangster rapper or tough rapper look, and of course, a rapper who isn't afraid to battle. But Kendrick is also saying Drake has many personas as a person. The good side he shows as a father, friend, inspiration, talented artist, and overall good guy. But there are other personas, such as someone who only cares about himself, allegedly getting with his enemy's girlfriends, he's a terrible father, and of course the allegations regarding what he does at his house and liking women of a certain age. And that's why Kendrick continues on to tell Drake this.
Take that mask off, I wanna see what's under them achievements.
Because he ends the song talking about Drake's biggest persona and his point of view, and that is Drake being a fake and a liar.
Why believe you? You never gave us nothing to believe in, cause you lied about religious views.
Kendrick starts off by saying Drake lies about his religion. Drake was born to a Jewish woman, making him Jewish under Judaic law. In a 2023 Vlad TV interview, Academics was quoted as saying, "I think he's got away for trying to be the, hey, this is the Jewish rapper."
You lied about your surgery.
Kendrick then continued to say Drake lied about surgery, as in getting fake abs and a nose job.
You lied about your accent and your past tense, all is perjury.
Drake lied about his accents, which is Kendrick referring to Drake having various accents over the years, like his UK accent.
These guys came up to me like, yo, dog, you know what it is, dog. Big up yourself, bruv. You done know Drizzy Drake, dog.
Toronto accent.
You guys make me sick to my stomachs, fam.
Jamaican.
And more tune for your head top, so watch how you speak on my name, you know?
Arabic.
Habibti, please, ana akid, inte wana akhla.
And New York.
Live at Starless, you know what I'm saying?
But that wasn't all. Kendrick also says Drake lied about his past tense, aka his past, and is saying that it's not real, just like his accents. It's all fake. And what Kendrick is referring to is how Drake says he struggled growing up financially, like on Started From the Bottom or Weston Road Flows.
Back when we couldn't buy pizza cause we were down to pennies.
And that his dad wasn't around. Meanwhile, Drake has been in acting since he was a kid, and his dad Dennis said that he talked to Drake all the time.
I have always been with Drake. Talk to him, if not every day, every other day.
Again, Drake says all these things are real, as in the struggle and his dad being absent. I'm just going off what I think Kendrick is referencing.
You lied about your ghostwriters.
Kendrick then mentions Drake lies about writing and having a ghostwriter. As many of you know, Drake was exposed for having a ghostwriter in 2015. But since then, Drake has been adamant in how good of a writer he is on his own.
That my strongest talent is writing. That is my strongest talent. I'm not a great singer. I'm a good performer. I've grown into a great performer. But my greatest talent is writing. You know?
But Kendrick still wasn't letting up, also saying Drake lied about his crew members and they're actually soft just like him.
You lied about your crew members. They all you lied on them. I know they all got you in them.
And while some of Drake's crew or security has alleged ties to the HAs, I think Kendrick is referring to Drake's former head of security and friend Baka Not Nice, and how he was making TikToks with his girl.
Hello, good morning. How you doing today?
I swear to God, I'm so player. I hate me.
Personally for me though, I don't think this proves they're soft. But to end the song, Kendrick said something interesting that definitely makes you have to think.
You lied about the only artist that can offer you some help. Rap battle, this a long life battle with yourself.
He says that Drake lied about him, but Kendrick tells Drake that this whole rap battle isn't what all of this is about. It's about Drake's lifelong battle with himself, and the consequences of his actions and real life problems being on full display. Real life problems that Kendrick has cited throughout this song in regards to identity issues, family issues, deep-rooted childhood issues, gambling issues, and lying about his life through music. In Drake, he will have to deal with all of those things on his own, win or loss in this rap beef. But just when you think Kendrick Lamar couldn't possibly do anything else to top his Meet the Grams diss track, he decided to double down by releasing the song Not Like Us the following day. And this song changed both Drake and Kendrick's lives forever.
Kendrick did not drop, bro. Not again, bro. Bro! It's like this in my chat. It's like he's watching my stream. It's like we can't even get a moment to like, yo, hey, now Drake dropped a good one here. I know we don't get, he's dropping again.
Brown, certified lover boy, certified.
The games begin with Kendrick's cover art for the song, as it's a picture of Drake's mansion in Toronto, also what he refers as to the embassy. Kendrick alleged on his previous song Meet the Grams that shady things go on there.
The embassy about to get raided too, it's only a matter of time.
The red markers on the mansion appear to look similar to those found on maps marking the homes of registered SOs. With these markers, Kendrick is eluding Drake and those close to him as, let's say, shady characters. And when we look at the title of the song and Not Like Us, it's also Kendrick saying that Drake is an outsider and not really from the culture. But the title and cover art was only the surface of Kendrick alleging Drake and his OVO team are up to no good.
Say Drake, I hear you like I'm young.
You better not ever go to cell block 1.
Over the years, salacious rumors have been spread about Drake liking younger women, including an incident at his concert where he appeared to kiss a girl under a certain age on stage in 2009. But there is a more popular rumor with the actor from Stranger Things, Millie Bobby Brown, and these rumors stem from an interview at the Emmy Awards.
You and Drake? That's awesome. That's awesome.
What advice does he give you? Like, what does he say?
About boys. He helps me.
What?
Yeah. He's great. He's wonderful. I love him.
What's his advice with boys?
You know, that stays in the text messages.
And at first glance, it's definitely odd word choices, but there has never publicly been anything negative to come from this. And it's important to note, Drake of course denied any wrongdoing. But Kendrick, he doesn't care what Drake denied and continued on.
Certified lover boy, certified trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor.
Yeah, I don't like seeing these brothers me-tooing each other over a rap feud. Yeah, that's corny. If you're gonna call somebody a file, if you're gonna call somebody a woman, you gotta have some real proof, because those are some heavy accusations.
Although as the song ends, Kendrick has a very cryptic message for Drake.
Are you my friend? Are we locked in? Then step this way, step that way.
When we take a step back and look at the tale of the tape between these two artists, majority would say Kendrick is a better lyricist and Drake is a better hitmaker. But on this song, many feel Kendrick beat Drake at his own game when it comes to making a hit. And Kendrick, he clearly is referencing that as well. To start, Kendrick trolls Drake by saying, "Are you my friend? Are we locked in?" In a couple of Drake's songs, he has eerily similar lyrics.
Kiki, do you love me? Are you riding? You my treacherous little twin, and you know that we locked in.
And to me, I think this is a play on words, with Kendrick essentially saying, "Hey, am I doing this hit song thing right?" And I think he's mocking Drake a little bit for the simplicity of these lyrics, but he still wanted to add salt to the wound. So to end the song, when Kendrick says then step this way, step that way, he is mimicking Drake's viral song, Toosie Slide.
Did it go right foot up, left foot slide?
Kendrick is pretty much telling Drake, "I just checkmated you at your own game," and in his and many others' eyes, placing him the winner in this beef, along with him bringing the lyrical element he is still known for. So with both Meet the Grams and Not Like Us going viral, as well as the world talking about all of these allegations towards Drake, the pressure was definitely building. And one thing about pressure is it can make or break someone in a battle. So the question is, how and when was Drake going to respond to all this pressure?
New Drake, y'all. Let's get into it. I've never heard this, I promise y'all. Let's go.
I anticipated a Drake response at some point, and just from the title alone, genius fucking move.
On May 5th, 2024, just days after Kendrick released Meet the Grams and a day after Not Like Us, Drake responded to the pressure by releasing his diss track, The Heart Part 6. The disrespect begins before we even get into any lyrics, as Drake decided to name this diss track The Heart Part 6. And if you didn't know, Kendrick Lamar has a series of songs dedicated to the title, The Heart, that goes all the way until Part 5. So off the rip, Drake is already disrespecting Kendrick by doing this. As if we were being honest, Kendrick trying to do a Part 6 to his series is spoiled now.
You sure about that?
As anytime someone will search it, this diss track will come up. Drake starts with a sample from the song Prove It by Aretha Franklin, and this sample serves as a double entendre. The first meaning behind this is Drake setting the tone for this song, as he goes out to defend his name after Kendrick made tons of allegations towards him on his diss track Meet the Grams and Not Like Us. So he's essentially using it to tell Kendrick, prove the allegations about me are actually true. The second meaning behind this sample is Aretha Franklin wrote this song about a heartbreak she went through, which again circles back to the title of the song, The Heart Part 6, and Drake's plan to break Kendrick's heart.
I got your fucking lines tapped, I swear that I'm dialed in.
Now to some of you, this may seem like a direct sentence, but there are a lot of layers to it. By saying I got your lines tapped, Drake is saying he has heard information from Kendrick Lamar he probably wasn't supposed to hear. Or he's telling Kendrick he got played on the phone with fake information. And these lyrics relate back to Kendrick's diss song 616 in LA.
Have you ever thought that OVO is working for me?
So Drake is telling Kendrick, you think you have inside info, but really, you don't. I got the upper hand. He then goes on to say, I swear I'm dialed in. And this is a double entendre. The first meaning refers to Drake using dialed in as a way to say he's very focused on this beef.
Look at my eyes, you guys wanna do something?
But it goes even further than that. Dial it in also relates to the first half of the line, saying he has Kendrick's lines tapped, because dial it in is another way to describe calling someone on the phone. So very early on, Drake is setting the concept and telling us that he gave Kendrick fake information. But we gotta find out if he actually did.
First I was arrested, so where's the proof of the trial then? Where's the paperwork of the cabinet is filed in?
Drake then continues on the defense by telling Kendrick, where's the proof of this snitching?
I know about that make gonna wanna look like a saint.
And this honestly reminds me of 50 Cent, because he's been accused of snitching for over 20 years by his biggest enemies Ja Rule, Irv Gotti, etc. And he always responds in the same way.
Even for me personally, my character never try to attack my character. They'll say he a rat or he just a snap. Yeah. All you gotta do is ask him who I told on. Paperwork. I ain't never told on no in my life. Yeah.
The streets would have had me hiding out in a small town. My Montreal connect stand up, not far down.
When Drake says the streets would have had me hiding out in a small town, he's saying if he was a snitch, it again would have been exposed, and he would have had to gone in hiding by now, as the streets, the people he told on, and perhaps others, would have gone after him. He then says my Montreal connect stand up, not fall down. Montreal is a big city in Canada that is known for a lot of criminal and mob activity, dating back decades to the Rizzuto crime family, who actually had ties to the Bananos in New York, one of the 5 families who dominated organized crime in the United States. And Drake, he's referenced the former boss and most notable figure from the family, Vito Rizzuto, in his music before.
I made north of the border like Vito Rizzuto.
His Montreal connects could also branch out to the organized crime group, the HAs, as the HAs have a strong influence in Montreal, and Montreal was the first place in Canada they expanded to. And Drake, he's posted about the group in the past, and actually had an alleged member appear in his other diss track to Kendrick Lamar, Family Matters music video.
This is what I got to. I get a random call, and a random call that says, hey, listen, by the way, you see the guy who's Drake's talking to at the end of the video with the bandana? That's one of the leaders of Hell's Angel.
Oh, shit.
And allegedly that guy lives in the neighborhood with Drake. He lives in Drake's neighborhood, allegedly.
We plotted for a weekend and we fed you the information.
Drake finally addresses the theme of the song in feeding Kendrick the fake information. So the big question is, did Drake actually trick them, or is it a cover-up? Because this information Drake allegedly leaked to them includes Drake hiding an 11-year-old daughter, which he mentions on the following line.
A daughter that's 11 years old, I bet he takes it.
And Kendrick allegedly took this bait on his diss track Meet the Grams.
Dear baby girl, I'm sorry that your father not active inside your world.
But as we covered on that song, it definitely appears that Drake having a hidden daughter isn't true.
I believe that the 11-year-old child thing by Drake was probably either fed to Kendrick, planted, I don't know how. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how, okay?
The only question you have to answer for yourself is, did Kendrick actually get tricked by Drake with this fake information?
Even the picture you use, the jokes and the medication, the Maybach glove and the drug he uses for less inflation.
Now this is where things begin to take a very dark turn. Drake is referencing Kendrick's original cover for his diss track Meet the Grams. As we talked about earlier, it appears that a former hotel employee got his hands on these items. But when this song came out, that person hadn't come forward yet, posting the items on Twitter. So Drake claimed in these lines, he fed Kendrick this fake information, or in this case, suitcase items.
I think Drake knew that these things were stolen, okay? So this does look like some stolen shit, I'll be honest. Drake did knew that they were stolen. I don't know if he's like trying to reverse psychology it, saying, well, now I know it's stolen and I know what you have. I'm going to play off of it. That's one.
But now that we look back knowing what we know, it does seem more clear Drake may have lied about setting up Kendrick with these items. Because even without the hotel employee being exposed, Drake wanted us to believe he planted these items purposely, knowing Kendrick would eventually get his hands on them and use it against him. Now while it could be possible, I don't know, it just seems like low odds.
Why isn't Whitney denying all of the allegations? Why is she following Dave Free and not Mr. Morale?
But Drake wasn't done there, as he also reiterated that Kendrick's longtime friend Dave Free got his fiancée Whitney pregnant. To back up his claim, Drizzy points out Whitney is following Dave Free on Instagram, but not her fiancé Kendrick. And I won't lie, even if she did unfollow him and they got into an argument, I still don't think this was the best angle of proof to go with. Even though you could say it isn't the norm to not follow your fiancé on Instagram, Kendrick and Whitney don't live normal lives. They're big time celebrities, and none of us can relate to that.
Dave leaving heart emojis underneath pics of the child.
And interestingly enough, this line actually represents where the inspiration for the Heart Part 6 cover art came from. As you can see, the cover art is a photo of Dave Free commenting on Whitney's photo with 2 hearts, and her liking the comment. And to summarize, I'm not in agreement that the Instagram stuff is proof of anything, because from just looking at it from our perspective and analyzing these lyrics, I need more proof to believe what Drake's saying.
My mom came over today and I was like, mother, wait a second. That's that one record where you say you got.
This is where we get to a part in the song that gets a lot more personal. Drake references Kendrick Lamar's song, Mother I Sober, a song from Kendrick's 2022 album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. On this track, Kendrick talks about a sensitive situation his family dealt with growing up. And although Kendrick denies anything ever happening to him regarding this SA incident, it was referencing a passed down pain from his mother. But Drake, he didn't see it that way and thinks that it did happen to Kendrick. And from a psychological angle, Drake is saying this SA is actually the reason for Kendrick talking about Drake hanging out with younger women. So essentially what Drake is saying is that Kendrick is projecting his own feelings or experiences onto him.
That's why these pedophile raps is you so obsessed with. If I was young girls, I promise I'd have been arrested.
Drake then took the bull by the horns and full on addressed Kendrick's allegations of him dealing with younger women and completely denies it. And there is zero proof of Drake doing anything inappropriate, but there are people on the internet besides Kendrick insinuating that there is.
Just let me know when we get into the facts. Everything in my shit is facts. I'm waiting on you to return the favor, like.
And to end the track, Drake wants Kendrick to let him know when he is done rapping lies about him, and everything Drake has said on this song is true. But this is kind of ironic because Drake also seemingly lied on this very same song. So at this point, the Heart Part 6 hasn't aged that well, and many consider it to be a mistake by Drake.
This record is him waving the white flag. I don't really see how you could view it another way.
Too much. I just feel like too much is going on. Like yesterday was a lie. Today Drake sounds exhausted. It's like I'm exhausted. I feel him.
If Drake really is waving the white flag right now, isn't that a congratulations you played yourself? If he's throwing in the towel and saying, you know what, I don't want to battle you no more because you're telling lies and everything that I say is truth.
And this ended up being the final diss track between the two of them in 2024. But in saying that, this beef was far from over.
Again, I know some of y'all want to be in denial of what this concert was supposed to be. This concert, it's a victory lap, right?
On June 20th, 2024, Kendrick Lamar got the beef going again by holding one of the most electric concerts that we've seen. Kendrick's pop-out united the entire West Coast in a time where Drake was saying he got more love out West than Kendrick did.
Oh, so y'all ain't gonna let nobody disrespect the West Coast, huh?
But after this concert, those claims would be put to rest.
There's this quote that I love, and the quote is, where there is unity, there is always victory. And Kendrick Lamar took one hell of a victory lap last night.
Yeah. And to many, this concert was an unofficial victory lap to cap off Kendrick's win versus Drake in their longtime beef. Kendrick was joined on stage at the concert by many familiar faces, including Dr. Dre, Ty Dolla $ign, Tyler the Creator, DJ Mustard, Roddy Ricch, and Drake's former friend, YG. Not to mention Rick Ross, The Weeknd, LeBron James, and Kendrick's fiancée, Whitney Alford, were all in the crowd. But the real moment in this concert came when Kendrick performed his hit diss track, Not Like Us, not once, not twice, not even 3 times, but 5 times that same night. As I said, this concert was a group of people collectively getting together to celebrate Kendrick winning the beef and essentially shit on Drake. But just when you thought this concert would be a nice little send-off to mark the end of this 2024 battle, Kendrick took it to another level once again. He dropped the music video for his hit song, Not Like Us. And well, it wasn't just any music video. Kendrick used the visual for this song to both diss and try and make Drake look like a fool. Kendrick dropped this video on July 4th, American Independence Day. Drake, as we know, is Canadian, further symbolizing the title of the song and Not Like Us, and that Drake is an outsider to American rap culture. Kendrick continued to showcase the strength of Compton and the West Coast by proving Drake wrong when he said he gets more support on the West than Kendrick. But as we get into the video, Kendrick did a lot in such a short period of time. One of Drake's most popular lines towards Kendrick in this beef was "Drop it, give me 50, which was Drake making fun of Kendrick for doing push-ups at a public park gym and in his N95 music video. It was also Drake possibly alluding to TDE taking half of Kendrick's money when he was signed with them. But Kendrick decided to make fun of Drake right back through doing his push-ups in the video. But it gets deeper than just that. Kendrick does a set of 17 push-ups, alluding to the number of Grammys Kendrick has won and how Drake might like that number for other reasons Kendrick has mentioned. We also have to take note of the picture turned to its side on the ground, a clear response to Drake saying this.
I know my picture on the wall when y'all cook up.
And to top it all off, Kendrick is doing all of this in what appears to look like a prison cell, which he references in this scene. Although in another scene, there is a masked man coming behind Kendrick. This masked man seemingly resembles Drake's cover art. And Kendrick, he uses superpowers to push him away. Superpowers that could be familiar. The actor Millie Bobby Brown, who has been at the forefront of malicious rumors involving Drake, plays a character on the TV show Stranger Things, and her character named Eleven has superpowers that seemingly resemble what Kendrick did in this scene. Is it a reach? Possibly, but it's still an interesting coincidence. But the next interesting coincidence involves Kendrick playing hopscotch when he says the infamous line, A minor.
Trying to strike a chord and it's probably A minor.
Pretty straightforward the point he's alluding to, as this is a kid's activity. But one of the biggest parts of the song was Kendrick taking this music video as an opportunity to discredit Drake and his allegations. Kendrick involved everyone from TDE to signal that Drake alluding to there being beef or bad blood simply is not true. As you can see, they look united as can be. Next, Kendrick diffuses the dark allegations from Drake regarding his family and his best friend Dave Free. Drake alleged that Kendrick Lamar and his fiancée Whitney Alford were going through tough times in their engagement, and that they were involved in a DV situation. But Drake didn't just involve them. He also alleged that one of Kendrick's kids is actually his best friend Dave Free's. So to respond to this, Kendrick got everyone together in the music video, his fiancée Whitney, his kids, and Dave Free, who co-directed the video. And doing this, of course, doesn't help Drake's claims, as there doesn't appear to be any problems between them. And I know someone will say, but this and that could have still happened, but regardless, there isn't a ton of proof and everything looks to be good between them. But in one of the most symbolic methods from this video, Kendrick involves a real owl stuck in a cage and as a piñata. And if you don't know, an owl is the logo for Drake's brand and label OVO Sound. The owl as in piñata represents a kid's activity at a birthday party, and you probably get that reference by now. But it also symbolizes how Kendrick feels he has destroyed Drake and OVO in this battle. As for the owl in the cage, this is where it gets complex. A lot of people have different theories, and many of them could be right or make sense. But to me, the most logical ones are that the owl in the cage references Maya Angelou's book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, referencing that Drake should go back to singing and stop rapping. It also could be alluding Drake deserves to be locked in a cage, aka a prison cell, for all the allegations Kendrick has referenced against him in this beef. And this music video has gone on to have a crazy impact, and to many, a victory lap in defeating and discrediting Drake.
I ain't gonna lie to you, gang. This scene right here kind of destroys the Heart Part 6 and Family Matters.
But as the summer in 2024 went on, people continued to say Kendrick won and Drake lost.
Yeah, if Kendrick stops right now and we have to call it, yeah, I'll call it for Kendrick.
I'm a fan of Kendrick and I'm a fan of Drake. Obviously, I've had my fallout with Drake, as everyone knows, and I think Kendrick got the better of the battle and he won. It's as simple as that.
Drake also decided to drop a lot of music and behind the scenes footage known as 100 gigs on a second account called Plot Twist. And on this account, there's subliminals reflecting on the Kendrick beef in the music and also in the stuff posted to the account. Although to summarize the disses for Kendrick on these drops, he was talking about surviving the beef.
This is the moment I know they've been praying on. Try not to boy up, but I'm staying on.
Some responses to Kendrick's lyrics indirectly, but overall, it was nothing too crazy. And Kendrick disses aside, after Drake released all of this music, many people began to question his impact on the rap game, as none of these songs took charge in the charts like what we're used to seeing from Drake.
These aren't bad records, but it's not a free pack of ass, but it's not, those aren't the level of the pivot post Scorpion of how to get your back. I don't understand what he's doing.
I'm gonna be honest, and I'll do some predictions, and I'll, hey, if this is the only one that make the charts, we might have some issues. Try to put a gauge on, is Drake losing even a step on a dominance level? It's gonna be kind of where these songs end up. I think it should work. Let me look at the streams, at least on Spotify has been looking. Not the strongest, I'm gonna be honest. Definitely still will chart. We're talking about Drake, right? It's not the best streams, I'm gonna be honest. But these were supposed to be freebie songs.
And many began to ask the actual question, is this because of the Kendrick beef? But if you ask me, it's still too early to say. Maybe, maybe not. Although the real question we all want to know is, will there be a round 2?
Drake been hinting to a round 2 with Kendrick. What's going on? Like, what you thinking?
Listen, man, for those who thought it was over, it's far from over. It's round 2, man. Round two, trust me, we will win.
Page, middle page, wherever. Headliners, column 1 or 2, we will win game 2. You're not backing off? We will win game 2.
Then, everything got shut down. On September 8th, 2024, Kendrick Lamar was chosen to headline the 2025 Super Bowl halftime show. And during his advertisement for the performance, he had something very important to say.
You know there's only one opportunity to win a championship. No round 2s. Let's get it.
Kendrick subliminally told Drake and the world, there will be no round 2s. You get one chance to win, and that's it. Clearly a reference to all the round 2 talk between his beef with Drake. And right after this came out, academics then went on to say Drake doesn't even want a round 2.
Drake ain't running it back. So whatever you thought of the first one, go in peace, have fun.
A pretty big change up from what we saw earlier. But as for Kendrick headlining the Super Bowl, there was a ton of backlash online since many felt Lil Wayne should be the headliner due to it being in New Orleans, his hometown. And Kendrick, he was taking a lot of heat for this online.
That hurt a lot. It broke me. And I'm just trying to put me back together.
So just days later, Kendrick seemingly responded to this backlash as he released a song called Watch the Party Die. And on this song, he makes a reference to those people saying he didn't deserve to perform over Lil Wayne. And also, some seemingly direct subliminals at his old friend Drake. Why argue with these clowns if the circus is well at work? Just walk that man down, that'll do everyone a solid. It's love, but tough love sometimes gotta result in violence. As you just heard, Kendrick says he has no time to argue with clowns, which is a possible reference to those on social media criticizing his Super Bowl selection. And he talks about walking a man down and sometimes having to use tough love to make a point, which to me is a clear reference to Kendrick walking Drake down the road of their 1v1 battle and it getting pretty ugly for Drake. But overall, this song was Kendrick alluding to a shift in hip hop he's hoping to lead, a shift to bring back more of an authentic feel to the culture.
And I like Kendrick moving kind of like a leader of us. Like I like when he's active. Like he's a leader, obviously, for what he's done. But just to see now,
I don't think it was a diss at anybody specifically. I think it was an address of, here's what I see from my vantage point. This is what's going on. I don't like it, and I'm gonna address it.
And in his first move to bring back the authenticity to the culture, Kendrick decided to drop a surprise album. As on November 22nd, 2024, Kendrick Lamar dropped his 6th official studio album, GNX. And many people consider this to be a great album by Kendrick.
Kendrick Lamar just dropped this whole album. What a year! Ah!
And I ain't gonna lie, I love it. I love it. I listen.
But you already know what to expect from this body of work. To begin, the release date of this album is the same day as the infamous JFK assassination that took place in 1963. And the reason this is significant is because on Kendrick's diss track Euphoria, he said this:
Headshot for the year, you better walk around like Daft Punk.
On the first track of the album, Whacked Out Murals, Kendrick has some bars for Drake. But before we break those down, we have to look at the meaning behind the title. Kendrick is making reference to a mural that was made of him in 2024 in his hometown of Compton. On September 8th, 2024, this mural was vandalized by what appears to be a Drake and OVO supporter. So Kendrick took the opportunity to pay homage to the mural by titling a song after it, which the artist Gustavo Zermeno acknowledged on his Instagram the day this song dropped.
It used to be that, but now it's plural. Everybody.
Kendrick lets everyone know that it will always be Screw Drake, but now it's plural, as in Screw Everyone. Now who else could Kendrick be saying this about now? To me, it's possibly towards Lil Wayne, as he was talking about how he felt snubbed over the Super Bowl selection, as well as Nicki Minaj because she came to the defense of Lil Wayne. So in other words, Kendrick is standing against the big three from YMCMB.
I never lost who I am for a rap image. There's motivation if you wonder how I did it.
Countless times throughout this beef, Kendrick has stated he never changed who he was, or at least tried not to change from the fame and fortune the rap game has brought him. Unlike Drake, who Kendrick has said many times does everything for his image and lost who he was.
Snoop posted tailor-made, I prayed it was the edibles. I couldn't believe it, it was only right for me to let it go.
Kendrick then publicly addresses Snoop Dogg, posting Drake's tailor-made freestyle, where Drake used the AI voices of Snoop Dogg and Tupac to diss Kendrick. In these lines, Kendrick talks about how he couldn't believe Snoop did that, and says perhaps Snoop was under the influence while he did it. Not to mention, Kendrick didn't have Snoop on stage during the pop-out, and this could be the reason why.
My city couldn't entertain no boy, promising bank transactions and even Bitcoin.
Kendrick once again references Drake trying to dig up dirt on him to use in their feud, seemingly saying nobody from his city would take Drake's payment offers to give up anything on him. Then a few lines down, Kendrick says, "If that money got in the hands of a crash dummy, could jeopardize my family and burden the ones who love me," which appears to be Kendrick saying that if that money had been offered to the wrong person, who knows what they may have said, as people will say anything for money and to score points with someone like Drake.
I never piece it up, that shit don't sit well with me. Before I take a truce, I'll take them to hell with me.
In these lines, it appears Kendrick says he will go to hell before he makes peace with Drake, and I don't think that comes as a surprise to anyone.
It was wolf tickets on sale till I silenced it. Pipe down, young, these some whole other politics.
On the song Squabble Up, when Kendrick says it was wolf tickets on sale till I silenced it, he is referring to him shutting down Drake and feeling like he beat him in their beef, as the definition of wolf tickets is to oversell yourself to spread boasts or threats that you can't or won't back up. So in other words, Kendrick is saying Drake was using a lot of big words and how he would beat Kendrick, but ultimately Kendrick ended up silencing him, aka being crowned the winner of this beef. Furthermore, Kendrick then makes reference to Drake's 2021 song, Pipe Down, that was on his album Certified Lover Boy. and when Drake said this on push-ups.
Pip squeak, pipe down.
So to me, Kendrick is poking fun at Drake for telling him to pipe down, and is essentially saying, these are some whole other politics, aka, I'm a whole nother level that you can't handle.
With him and some in him, that's a lot of don't hit him, he got kids with him, my apologies.
Kendrick has called Drake the B word or has called him soft throughout this beef multiple times, and in this line, Kendrick seems to be continuing this trend. But that's not the only trend he appears to be continuing, as on the following line, he said don't hit him, he's got some kids with him, my apologies. And this could be interpreted in different ways, but to me, it's probably another jab regarding the allegations of Drake liking women of a certain age that we've seen come up many times during this beef.
1,000, 1,004. The black Noah just strangled me a goat.
On the song Hey Now, Kendrick seemingly continues to talk about beating Drake in the beef, and even pokes fun at how he beat a goat, which is Kendrick making fun of Drake for calling himself the best.
I'm way too important to ever let you slide on me.
And near the end of the song, Kendrick seemingly has another response regarding a potential round 2 with Drake. And just like during the Super Bowl commercial, he shuts it down, as he says I'm way too important to ever let you slide on me again. Although, Kendrick had another surprise for us on this album, as he decided to continue with his The Heart series, even after Drake tried to spoil it, as he released his own version of The Heart Part 6. And after going over this song, I couldn't find any disses towards Drake on it, so Kendrick could be sending a message that Drake's version was so forgettable, he didn't even react to it. But what happened next in this story not only changed this beef, but hip-hop forever. On November 25th, 2024, Drake and his legal team created a petition the step before a lawsuit claiming UMG, the music label, promoted Kendrick Lamar's diss song Not Like Us dishonestly and manipulatively. They allegedly paid streamers, influencers, radio stations to promote the song without telling the public these promos were paid for. They also allegedly hired companies to promote the numbers artificially, as well as giving Spotify financial incentives to promote Not Like Us more than usual. Now, of course, all of these allegations aren't proven, but it's still one of the craziest things that we've seen. But the craziness wasn't done there, as another petition was filed against UMG for defamation, as the song Not Like Us allegedly caused Drake irreparable damage to himself and his business.
Did Drake take it too far? He's suing the man.
Nah, I mean, that sounds like a Drake move to me.
Now, many people have mixed opinions on these allegations. Some are flat out saying Drake is the ultimate sore loser.
This is it. We thought Kendrick's album, the Not Like Us video, all that was the final nail in the coffin. This is the final nail in the coffin.
No.
If you sue during a rap battle where no one was even harmed, yeah, you lost.
And some are saying Drake is fighting a battle far bigger than his beef with Kendrick.
Drake's side decided to file this lawsuit not just because of Not Like Us song, it's bigger than the song, which is why Drake is suing the label and not Kendrick directly. From what I was told, Drake feels as if his label is using the money made from them to fund Kendrick Lamar's song, burying him amidst a sensitive label negotiation he's currently in. I agree with that too.
But when we look back on this longtime feud, from how it began over 10 years ago with two promising artists becoming good friends, to developing one of the biggest and possibly last real beefs in hip-hop, it's truly history in the making that we will probably never see again. And no matter which side you're on, you can't deny the talent and longevity both Drake and Kendrick Lamar have. Because whether you like it or not, Drake has been dominating music with his historic stay at the top for many years, even if it looks like people are tired of that run taking place. And Kendrick Lamar, he's going to continue to push barriers culturally and dominate rap whenever he picks up the pen and the mic, especially after his perceived win over Drake in 2024. But there is one thing that we can all agree on, and that's the fact Drake and Kendrick Lamar will never be friends again.